All right, all right. 6:05. That's even crazier. That it would be exactly 6:05 when I come on. Not planned at all. Um, where is my cat at? Give me 1 second, y'all. Let everybody come on in. Y'all gotta help her. I cannot do anything right now with this teacher. All right. See, this CSS schedule, it should be on right now. I don't know why. Every time I do that, it jumps onto I don't know. Is that where I'm at? Okay, well, it did work this time. So, boom. All right, all right. Let's gather that chi. All right. Greetings to all the beloved across the realm. As always, in all ways. Mësët to all. This evening we're gonna have an excellent one. That means it's going to excel those that are here, those that watch it on the rewatch. Okay. We did not plan this date or anything. Let me tell you how everything worked out. 2025 is 9. It's the year of 9. If you don't know, feminine. All right. It's the return of the feminine energy, the rise of the feminine energy, if you don't know. So this evening, this teaching, Brother Micah and I, let me be clear about something. We didn't plan anything. We haven't spoken about what we're going to talk about. We have no subject matter that we brought up together. We didn't brainstorm together. All we did was say, hey, you want to do this? Sure, okay. When? I'll let you know in about 48 hours. Boom, let him know the time and the date. Sat back, meditated on it after, and saw how perfect the Great Spirit is. Do you realize today, the hour that it was scheduled is 6. The month is 7. The day is 8. And the year is 9. I came on 5 minutes after 6. So that's 5, 6, 5 after 6, 7th month, 8th day, and the year is 9. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's how in alignment this whole thing is. Beloved, if you think somebody could actually plan that, you know how much energy it would take to consciously plan something like that. The synchronicity of that. Okay? That would be pretty hard. And when I was saying that, it was just 6-9 showing 69 people 6 to the 9. Okay. Without that coming on 5 minutes late, it was just 6, 7, 8, 9. But being as though I came on exactly at 5 minutes after 6, it became 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And without further ado, I will bring Brother Micah Dank. If you don't know who he is, he's a published author, has many books in the double digits. I'm still working on my first. This brother has double digit books published and out there. Okay, he has a body of work. And I'll go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and bring him on, but I'm gonna still be speaking. Brother Micah, there he is.
I just caught what you said, the alignment. You can't make that up.
Brother, me set. Let me turn you up. Your volume's a little low
All right,
on
hold on.
my end. You, um, everyone in the chat, brother Rick, if you, nice to see you, brother. Nice to see all of you here. Um, you guys, let us know how the volume is. If you know, don't if something is too loud or too low, let us know in the comments. And brother, I don't look at the comments too often, but brother Rick, your name kind of stands out, being as though it's in blue. Uh, try to articulate that, communicate that to us so we can, uh, adjust. But all right, we're gonna get right to it. First, let me congratulate brother Micah. Uh, I hope you don't mind this, brother Micah. If you don't know, brother Micah he's going ahead and tying that knot. He's gonna go ahead and get married. You
That's
know.
right. 4 days.
You, hold on, let me turn. It might be my volume. Probably is. Yeah, I got mine low. Okay. You said how many days,
4 days.
brother? You know that song by Jagged Edge? Let's Get Married.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a jagged edge, brother. That marriage, I was with my wife for 24 years, brother. Before as most know, she
Mm-hmm.
passed on to the next place, January 2nd of 2025. She passed on 1/2/9. That's 12/9. My birthday is 9/12. My mom's birthday is 12/9. My mom passed on 2/19. Two, so it's all synchronicities, man. If you just gotta have the eye to see it. Most families are actually all connected by numbers,
Mm-hmm.
birthdays, and that you just most don't see it, and then not everyone's meant to see it, and it's not meant to be shared with everyone because we all. I don't say we all, but most of us are kind of like that black sheep, or at least got a little group of black sheep in our family. And if you're not the lone black sheep, you're probably like the leader of the little corner of your family or whatever. But there are some that actually have eccentric families that are all and
Mm-hmm.
that's cool. I see these younger brothers and sisters coming up, and there's a page, I forget what it's called. Now I'm not co-signing for the content. I don't know it all, but I've come across a few things that it shows like the younger generation. I think it's called Beyond 5D or something, and they be having like little songs like kind of like rap songs, but it's like not rapping about the stuff that they want the rap songs and stuff to be about. It's about like consciousness. You know what I mean? It's younger people too, like teenagers. So I thought that was pretty cool. But okay, I did not want to put this disclaimer. The first time you came on, I had to do the disclaimer about the whole Freemasonry thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this evening, I have to put this disclaimer out just because of not the majority. It's actually a very small group of people in the bigger picture of things. But somehow, the last few teachings that have come through I don't never say my platform, on the platform that I have been honored and privileged to steward, the messages. Um, for some reason, there's always a few people that assume, we know the old saying about assume, the word assume, that every teaching I'm doing is somehow, some way related to uh, the archaics doctrine and trying to disprove the archaics doctrine or something like that. Okay, so let me go ahead and throw this out here now. because we're going to touch on some things that do intermingle and intertwine with some of the archaic uh, stuff. Now, listen, I haven't watched an archaics video since when I was on there last October. Why? Because I was blocked. I've been blocked from the YouTube page. I've been blocked from the Facebook page. So I don't know. Why was I blocked? I don't know. You guys saw the video. I was invited to his Jason's birthday. He put his motorcycle helmet on and said that I was dropping bombs. Everyone in the comment section said it was one of the best teachings that on Archaic's page. I've been told it's like the 20th, the top like 20th video or something ever on Archaics. I don't know because I don't check these carnal statistics. I really don't care about that. I could care if it was 7 people on here or 7,000. It's meant who it's meant for. But if you were there, you saw I was invited to his birthday. I was going to get contacted the next day by Big John to be on immediately and never was contacted. I got blocked actually. When I went back on there, the next teaching they did, I was blocked. I realized no one could see my comments because no one was like acknowledging. So I'm making comments like, "Congratulations, brother, on getting the facility and this and that." Nobody's like, I'm like, hold on, what's going on? So I asked my son. He said, "No, your comments aren't even showing." So I emailed Jason directly, and I congratulated him on acquiring the building. I guess back then, like Archaics, he announced that they acquired like a physical building. Never received a response or anything. Okay. Now, do I have animosity towards him for that? No. Everyone's entitled to what they want to do. I don't. Hey, it is what it is. I hold. I don't. I'm to the point where I don't use energy for that. That's wasting energy. It's the elites have this construct already set up with their canable system to drain you anyway. So why would I consciously drain my energy on focusing on somebody else and what they're doing when I'm doing what I'm here to do? So let me just put that out there. So if you make comments in the comment section and you never get a response from my, that's why. It doesn't mean I don't see it. I see your comment, but I'm not going to waste any energy in explaining like I'm doing now. The reason that I am putting energy into it at this moment is because it's a disclaimer, because this teaching is going to be fire. And I just want you to know that. So with that being said, Micah, do you want to add anything to that?
So, what we're going to do is, if you've seen me with Chief last time, I did a presentation. I've got another presentation this time. This is the first time I've ever done this presentation. Please be gentle, because I don't know if all the slides are in the right order yet. So if something seems like it jumps around a lot, I'm still trying to figure things out. I was on with Jason not too long ago, and I presented my work. And the reason I reached out to Chief was because Jason has this timeline that the Zodiac wasn't known before 700 BC. And that's just incorrect. That is just incorrect. We're going to show you a couple videos to start about that. I'm going to show you information in my presentation about that. And what happened was, I had asked Jason on Twitter, because he referenced the books, and I was like, well, let me ask you a question. We know that history is full of lies. It's been written by the victor, always. And if you don't believe that, just look at any American textbook. When was the last time you opened an American textbook and you were told that we were wrong? In a war, in a battle, during something that we've done, it's not like that. So I reached out to Jason. I simply said, how do you differentiate just because a book is ancient and you read it and you take it as granted? How do you differentiate from lies in history versus this? And he came back and he attacked me. I wasn't impressed with your astrotheology work. You're sorely lacking. And he just like snapped at me.
And I saw, and the reason I asked you, because I'm not going to come out and share another man's story because you may not want to share
Right.
it, so that's why I asked you. I'm not going to speak for you, but I'm aware of everything you're saying.
Right.
I saw the post, and you didn't say anything malicious. You didn't say anything like wrong. You
It
literally
was a
asked
legitimate
questions,
question. I'm
and
sitting here questioning a man who's read thousands and thousands of books, and I'm going, bro, how do you know if you're being lied to in any of these books? Set up a
and brother,
chain reaction.
he, from what I know, because if you don't know, I came across Archaic's pre CV-19. I remember when I had subbed to the channel when it was 1,700 subs. It didn't even have 2,000 subs yet. That's when I came. It was like 2017, 2018, something like that. Um, he always invites. He says he wants people to come and question it, and he wants to like the debates and things like that. But as soon as someone asks a question, from what I've seen, not just you, brother, from what I've seen, anytime someone even insinuates a question that goes against this archaic paradigm, automatic offensive mode, not
Mm-hmm.
not defensive, like offensive, like
Right.
coming at you. Defensive is like, look, brother, all right, I get what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? It's like defense is I'm not gonna throw no punches. I'm just gonna dodge with you. It's offense is when you come out and say you're not even qualified, and then you, and then
And
I
it's not just
I
him.
didn't I
It
didn't look
wasn't
up
just
the
him.
words he was using because he uses, some pretty big words. But someone in the comments actually looked up some of the words that he used, the vernacular, and he didn't even use these big words correctly. It reminds me of like a Don King, like before the fight, when he would be like, you insinuating that the articulation of the abomination of the coinciding, the and just saying all these big words, the coagulation of the uh, gentrification, like he's using all these big words, and then if you actually follow up on like what does this word mean, and you read the definition, it didn't even go with what he was trying to say. It literally refuted the comment he made to you about reading books and things.
Exactly. And then once he um, responded to me, that's when all his little errands came after me and started saying all this stuff on Twitter and Facebook towards me. And I'm like, I just asked a dude that's read 2,000 books a simple question, looking for his educated opinion, simply asking, how do you know what you're reading isn't fake? Just like the textbooks are fake now. That's all I asked. And he freaked out. So, what I thought we would do you
I'm
have
gonna
those?
go. I'm gonna go ahead and show that real quick. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to my brother London here. He's under the name KJV. If you guys don't know, that's my brother London. Um, I'm on his platform. Um, I was just on there the other day. It's a growing platform, and I'm not here, there, and everywhere. I've been on Bro Sanchez before. I gave Bro Sanchez a few. I've been on Bro Sanchez more than once, and I I just refrained from my great spirit put on my heart. That's enough. Um, Archaics, and now you're actually the first and only guest I've had on this platform, and this is the second time. And excuse me, you see, I put part one.
Mhm.
Um, because I already know. I personally like I said, I didn't plan any of this. So, but today I just quickly was just putting little things together. And I personally, I didn't even know that you had a slideshow and stuff ready. But I personally have like so much here to just. I had text you something. I said the last text I sent you, I said, bro, this teaching, I feel like Barry Bonds fully juiced up. Like I'm going to knock this subject out
Mm-hmm.
into the San Francisco Bay. Because the fact, if you think for 1 second, and this is not now, I'm not talking about Jason or Cakes, anyone that says that the Zodiac is from only goes back to 600 BC, that makes me question anything else. Like now you've made me wonder about your whole thing. Like now I don't know what type time you're on because somebody, especially if it's somebody supposed to be highly intelligent and like this almost genius like uh persona, um and you really genuinely think that the Zodiac is from 600 BC? Now I can understand if this is not your thing and you're a student and you're here to learn and stuff, and like people that are here now, you may not know. That's fine. That's why you're here, because you're gonna find out. Like how Kevin Hart said, you're gonna learn today, and you're gonna learn the truth. I wouldn't have Brother Micah on if, first of all, if the Great Spirit didn't convict me that this brother's going to bring an aspect of truth and not just the same thing that I'm going to give you. That's why I brought him on, because I know he's going to bring a whole nother angle, what people call angels, and a whole nother angle of light at that. And then, I have my angle, and they meet at a focal point that is called the light of the world. Okay, that we call the light of the world, the Christ, or the Chiro, the hero, the Heru, many, many different things. But so look, real quick, get this archaic stuff out the way. The only reason I'm gonna show these quick two little videos is because it's relevant to the teacher. It's just an example to be used. All right. It's not this, again, let me reiterate for all of those coming in. This teaching is not about to just crap on archaics and Jason Brashears. All right. But at this point, I'm just going to show you as an example. If I had someone else to show, I would show them. But right now, in this moment, this is the example I have for you. Ronnie, can you help me bring this up, please? So I'm going to show you two quick videos, and it's kind of piggybacking off what Brother Micah said. So the video's up here. All right, got them ready. That's the second one. The first one is this one. Okay, just click on it. Go ahead. You help me. Okay. Now, can you hear me, Brother Micah?
Yeah, we're good on audio. Let's see if we get audio for
That's what I was
the
going to
video.
say, because I can hear you and I can't see the comments. So if you can't hear it, or if you can hear it, let me know immediately.
All right.
1000 BC.
We're good.
All right, here we go.
1000 BC, Phoenician historian Sanchuniathon wrote a very compelling, interesting history in the pre-Greek times of the unfolding of ancient events, not a hint of a knowledge of a zodiac.
Sanchoniathon, Phoenician history, translated from the first book of Eusebius. And it says here, but there were certain animals which had no sense, out of which were begotten intelligent animals, and were called Zophesimon, that is, the spies or overseers of heaven, and were formed alike in the shape of an egg, thus born out Mat, the sun, and the moon, the less and the greater stars.
Livy, Roman historian. You guys know I love my Pliny the Elder. Pliny the Elder wrote natural history. He wrote all about the stars. Nowhere in Pliny's works does he mention a zodiac?
Natural History of Pliny, Book 1. And it says here, various circumstances in nature prove to us that there are impressed on the heavens innumerable figures of animals and of all kinds of objects. In confirmation of this idea, we may adduce the zodiac, in which are 12 figures of animals. Through them, it is that the sun has continued its course.
I just gotta say, this man literally just said Pliny never mentions the zodiac anywhere. Now, I was just gonna say, like, I don't think he has an understanding of like esoteric messages. I was gonna say, like, he must just be reading the ink on the paper, but it literally says the word zodiac, and he literally just said Pliny the Elder never has mentioned zodiac in any of his work. So that's just a little off.
Course for so many ages.
Strabo. Strabo was a Greek geographer. I read his material. He also wrote about the Great Pyramid. Not a hint about the zodiac is anywhere in Strabo's material.
And here we have the Geography of Strabo. It's an English translation by Horace Leonard Jones. And he goes on to say, however, the reader of this book should not be so simple-minded or indifferent as to not have observed a globe or the circles drawn upon it, some of which are parallel, others drawn at right angles to the parallels, and still others oblique to them, or again, so simple as to not have observed the position of tropics, equator, and zodiac, the region through which the sun...
He said, not a hint. He ain't even say not the word zodiac. This man said not a hint of the zodiac. That means he didn't even, he said, I read it. I read his work. I read it good. And he said this man never even had a hint of the zodiac. When this man clearly is telling you the word zodiac, the tropics, equator, and the zodiac, the sun, the different zones, the winds, the horizon, the Arctic circles, but he just said not even a smidget, not even a hint, not even maybe even think possibly could be the zodiac. And he just said the zodiac.
Is born in his course and by his turning determines the different zones and winds.
His counterpart, equally intelligent and prolific in his writings, was Diodorus Siculus. Nothing about the zodiac at all. We have these writings, nothing.
And we have Diodorus of Sicily here. 12 of these gods, they say, hold chief authority, and to each of these the Chaldeans assign a month and one of the signs of the zodiac, as they are called. And through the midst of these signs, they say, both the sun and the moon and the 5 planets make their course, the sun completing his cycle in a year and the moon traversing her circuit in a month.
Not a hint of a knowledge of a zodiac.
Ronnie, I need your help to bring on the next video. Well, maybe I can just do it.
So, guys, I want to interject real quick because I'm following the comments in the chat. Some people are saying that there was an older zodiac or a lunar zodiac, and that's not the case. And if you guys have followed my work at all, what I do is I show it through 6,000 years. Now, the zodiac has been pretty much the same. It only slightly changed in the Egyptian times. So I don't know if you guys can see this behind me, but you have Cancer right here. It should be up here, but Cancer right here is the crab. The crab used to be the scarab in the ancient Egyptian times, the beetle, which is why St. Augustine called Jesus the good beetle. You know, Christians quote St. Augustine to me all the time, but not that. The other change was right here in Leo. Leo, the lion, during the Egyptian times was the Sphinx. Aside from those two, the work that I've been showing through my book series, through my last teaching with Chief Ironbush, that I've been just getting out there, is that I can trace it all the way back to the Sumerians, to this astrotheological code. It was all based on that. And just to say that the zodiac is completely changed is incorrect.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. I've also seen that, and when I do this, I'm not mocking anybody, but the errants, I've seen that's been like their justification. That, and I've seen a lot of people saying, "Well, if Jason's wrong, he'll correct it." I've seen a lot of that too. But that'd be cool. I hope. That'd be nice to see
Right.
some humbleness. That'd be awesome. That'd be full of awe
That
if
would
that
be full of all. I mean, look, the what you guys have to understand is that people like Chief Ironbush or myself, with all the knowledge that we know two things. Number one, that we don't know anything. And number two, that we are always open minded, ready to learn, even if that changes our core beliefs. We are always open there. When you attack someone for asking someone to just specific, like what I did, to me, that screams insecurity. That doesn't exactly scream an openness to learn. The only way that you evolve is by keeping your mind open.
Well, it shows what energy you're operating from. If we want to, there's different ways it can be articulated. You could say higher self and ego, the beast in the God mind. The Christ or the serpent or it to I it just shows you may have all the knowledge in the world, but if it's coming, is it coming through your higher self, from your soul, from your heart, that is like packaged with love, or is it just coming like, like, share, subscribe my video, got merch on the website, this, that, the other, that type of thing. So it's kind of like, who is it being given by? That's how I look at it. But to piggyback off of what you just showed, there were, in that time frame, now I personally, and I'm not, you already know I'm not like uh trying to say like I know more than you or something like that. But what you said, you can take it back to the Sumerians. I
Absolutely.
I personally can take it back further than that, which we will do. If we don't do it here, we'll do it on
Right.
part two.
Right. Right.
But what I will say is the two main zodiacs. Well, if you want to bring the lunar into play,
Right.
the lunar was mainly pushed by the who you would call Arabians. The Arabians pushed the lunar mansions, and it had nothing to do with symbols or circles. It was all spoken word. It's words. It's all passed down orally. So there is no, the original lunar, the people that embrace the lunars, what you would call lunar zodiac, it's all word. It's based upon similarities in words, and it's mainly through the Arabic language. Now, the main zodiacs of the antiquity, now we're talking 3000 to 5000 BC, is the Egyptians, and who you would call the Sumer Akkad, Sumerian, then the Sumer Akkad, then to Babylonian. The difference is Babylon's zodiac is more like what we have today with the four seasons. Egyptians didn't have they had three seasons. They had four signs bunched up into three different parts instead of three signs in four quarters. And that was because it was solar based. Speaking of the Egyptians, but it was Sirius was the star that ran the whole shebang with Egypt. The return of Sirius, um, that was what their year revolved around, but it was also based on the sun. Babylonian zodiac didn't do that. They actually went by the seasons, which means it's more like Vedic. You have to go by real time, where the actual constellations are, in where the lights are in the firmament, not based on where the tropical, where the sun is. So the vernal equinox is here. So this constellation, we're assuming by the way the construct of the zodiac, it has to be here. So if those that don't know the difference between Vedic and the tropical, that's what it is. Tropical is heliocentric. It's based on it's the
It's
solstice.
real easy to explain, guys. Chief is doing a great job with it. Think about it like this. You see how over there everything is equidistant? Everything is 30 degrees, 12 signs makes a 360 circle. That's called tropical astrology. When you're talking about Vedic or sidereal astrology, you have to do something because between Scorpio and Sagittarius, you have the constellation Ophiuchus. Ophiuchus is the serpent bearer. For example, it's a man with a basket, and they're holding a snake in the basket. The snake is facing Sagittarius, the horse. So in the Bible, when they say, and the serpent will bite the heel of the horse and the rider will fall off, that's what it's talking about. The snake is literally facing the horse. It's going to bite the heels, and the dude's going to fall off the horse with the bow and the arrow. Its actual size of the constellations, for example, Virgo's huge. It's about a month and a half long. Scorpio's 6 days. I think Ophiuchus is not. The way I explain this to people, Chief, is basically like this. I tell people, look, me and Chief are at a party. We've been drinking, so we're going to take 2 separate Ubers and we're going to go to another party. The GPS in both of our cars may take us a different way, but we always end up at the same place. And that's just the best way to describe the differences in it. A lot of people that I know use tropical astrology. The Bible that I break down is mostly tropical astrology.
Right.
It's probably 95.5, the way I see it.
Well, I had someone ask a question because when I teach, I mainly teach from the tropical as well. And I can only speak for but the reason I do that is because I know that the L eats, that's what they're going off of.
Mhm.
So when I'm teaching events that are happening and certain things, I know that they're going off of this paradigm. That's why. So that's the answer to the question that a sister asked in the comments, I think last teaching or a few teachings ago.
So just so you guys know real quick, I've been trying to communicate in the chat and I'm blocked from leaving messages. And that has a lot to do with the fact I think that I was kicked off from YouTube from my teachings.
That's crazy.
Kicked off of YouTube, correct? So this is
you're definitely not blocked from my page.
No, I know. I wasn't implying anything. I was just simply saying, guys, I've been seeing your comments about following my work and everything. If you go to my website, debunkmywork.com, all my work is there. All my social media is there. There's a way to email me at the bottom of the page, and you can walk through everything that I've broken down. Anyway, so should we play the second video?
It's so short that I'm just going to go ahead and play it just to go ahead and nail it home. For anything, the reason, and I'm telling you from my heart, the reason I'm playing this is, folks, listen, it's not to try to belittle someone. Please, I have to send that, I really have to nail that point home. If this is not to belittle Jason or his work, his body of work or anything, what I personally am doing, the only reason I'm going to show this second video is because I want to show you how easy it is for you to take someone's word for it, for you to just sit back and watch them and just say, man, and then you pass it on someone else. Every 138 years, there's this thing that happens and da-da-da-da-da-da. If this man just said, them 2 references he made, that these people never even came close to insinuating anything about the Zodiac. He didn't even say they never mentioned the Zodiac. He said they never even came close to even talking or implying the Zodiac. What makes you think that this man on his charts and stuff has not said, well, this year is about 3 years off, but possibly the calendars were not calibrated correctly. So let me just go ahead and put it right here so it fits in this 138-year paradigm. Or maybe over here there was a earthquake that was reported in the ocean somewhere that didn't affect anybody, and yeah, it was the Phoenix event.
Mhm.
You have to really, and the reason I'm telling you this because I do not. We're coming out of the energy of Pisces, which is Ra Legion. It's the age of beliving in something.
Mhm.
Beliving is how they say, like heliocentric or geocentric. Geocentric, the Earth in the middle. Heliocentric is the sun in the middle. Well, beliving is lie in the middle. It's lie centric, meaning it don't matter how much truth you got revolving around you. It's the lie is in the middle. So it don't matter how much truth you're getting from this person. They might have a whole bunch of truth, but the whole paradigm is based on a lie. Be
You know
lying.
what an interesting thing is, Chief? When you think of something like rat poison, right? When you think of something like rat poison, what is rat poison? Rat poison is 99% food. It's not all poison because you can't exactly get something to come and eat poison. Rat poison is 99% enticing food and just that 1% of poison.
Well, what's this?
Exactly.
The original concept of I'm not talking about the new one. I'm not even gonna say the letters or nothing. The messenger one. I'm talking about the original concept of giving you just a little bit of the truth, the real thing, so your body would produce antibodies to fight off the real thing. So that's what religion is. It's giving you just enough of the spirituality to stop you from getting the real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're now taking part in idolatry, and us moving in. It's just what it is. It's the reality that you're in right now. Whatever your thoughts are on it, that you're in a simulation or whatever you want to think. Okay, that's your prerogative. I never tell you what to say, think, or believe, but I try to guide you into things that you should know. You should know. Now, I can't make you know anything because the truth is not. It doesn't have to be like banged on. It doesn't. You don't have to shoot somebody with the truth. You just let it out.
The
You
best
know.
way to think about it is we're not masters of anything. We're just open to learning. And I like to think of myself not as a gatekeeper at all. I'd like to think of myself as more like a what do you call it? Like a gateway drug to spirituality. Someone comes across my work and then it sparks something in them, and then they go off on themselves and have their own journey.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Well, with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and play this second one. Then you said you have slides and stuff ready,
Yeah,
bro?
yeah. We'll get to that, but let's play the second one.
Okay. Let me see if I can do it myself. See if I'm a big boy yet. Give me one
You guys
second.
are asking for my website. It's debunkmywork.com. All my social media is there, so you can find me through there. It's not letting me type it in here.
This is the one.
So if you want to go there, go to social media, friend me through there. I have Insta, Facebook, and Twitter. Let's get this video.
Yeah, this one's pretty short. Right here. And hit share.
There we go.
All right, sound check.
Let's talk about this a little bit.
Good.
Yeah, we're good.
All right, let's get it.
So last week, as you guys know, I did this sort of deconstruction of the archaics phenomenon thing, and apparently it irritated him. It got under his skin. So this was his response to the video, and he says it is particularly damaging that the two leading experts on the occult and mysticism both agree that the antiquity of the zodiac is highly controversial. Helena Blavatsky in the book The Secret Doctrine admits that, and this is the quote this is called quote mining. As we'll see, he didn't finish the quotes from these people, so we'll read directly from The Secret Doctrine here. And then he goes on to say, Manly Palmer Hall, in an encyclopedic outline of Masonic, Hermetic, Kabbalistic, and Rosicrucian philosophy, stated the antiquity of the zodiac is in much dispute. That's what.
Okay, real quick. I don't know. This again shows me where someone is at with their esoteric knowledge. if you think that the two leading experts on occult and mysticism are Blavatsky and Manly P. Hall, then you are sorely mistaken, because both of them actually are gatekeepers. I've read their work, and they will share things with you, like we just got done saying. They will share a lot of truth. But in the end, they're not going to give up the real secrets. They're not going to tell you about the true construct of where we're at. They're not going to tell you what's really going on with, the Yahwist and things like that. They're not going to get to the high level. They're going to give you just enough, kind of like how, what's that right now, the guy doing? He's more with like the Patriot thing, Alex Jones. That's like somebody saying it's particularly damaging that the leading expert on politics, Alex Jones, doesn't agree. So that's just a thought from but let's keep it moving.
That's what he's saying that Manly Palmer Hall says. Well, the problem with what he's quoting there, just to show you how truly awful this research is, you have to finish the quote, okay? And so this is the quote directly. So here's what he said, and here's directly the quote from Manly Palmer Hall. The antiquity of the Zodiac is much in dispute. To contend that it originated but a mere few thousand years ago before the Christian era is a colossal mistake on the part of those who have sought to compile data concerning its origin. After many years of deep study on the subject, believe that man's conception of the Zodiac to be at least 5 million years old.
Oh my goodness. So this man put a quote on, I think it was the Facebook page. He literally, I'm talking about Jason. He put the quote, the book, and the page number, and he quoted half of it and used it to back up that the two leading experts in occult and esoteric knowledge disagree, when the actual quote literally says, no, you're right, it's not from a couple thousand years ago. It literally goes back like hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of years, because, and I'm telling you from what I know, it's because time isn't linear. Where this realm is the analemma, like I've told you before, it's a cycle. It's cyclical. That's why I've told you there's no such thing as prophecy. It's only those who remember. And when we get to certain points, certain different people who have certain light codes in them can access these light codes and remember and bring it out. Okay, that's what we call the feminine energy. The feminine energy has nothing to do with, hey, the feminine energy is creativity, intuition, imagination. Okay, it's the creation energy. Okay,
I have this, and we can go into the fact that the Y chromosome is disappearing. There's so many angles that we could take on this, but when you're talking about the feminine, the left brain, right brain, male, female, and again, I'm not talking about like vote for Kamala or
right,
Hillary, like they're
right.
trying to tell you is the feminine and the.
That's
It's
the
so
side.
beyond. It's so beyond that. The problems with the world. The problems with the world is that the left brain will read the Bible and take it literally. The right brain sees the magic in it. The problem is that the left brain waged war on the right brain, and we've been trying to get back to the duality ever since.
Yeah, you're right. Singularity, where the two become one, where the I is single. That like the Golgotha, the place of the skull with the two crosses and Christ in the middle, and the pyramid, the fire in the middle of the three pyramids. It's the same story over and over and over. Odin on the tree of knowledge, and then Christ on the tree of Dionysus on the tree of life. I mean,
we're talking about Christ between the two people. And what do they tell you about the two people if you read the Bible, between the two thieves? One of them was incredibly anxious because he was worried what was going to happen to his soul, the one that ended up following Christ. And the other one who just harped on what he had done and couldn't get past it. It's the anxiety of the past versus the anxiety of the future.
Exactly. Good. Well said, brother. Well said. And that's why I always say, people say, well, Chief, what should we do? Just be. Just be. People think that like eternity is the finish line. No, you're eternal right now. You're just in a part of eternity that has a little it's like a cyst that's been isolated, and that's called time. And it has a time around it. But you're still in a bigger womb that is eternal. Now, it's not automatic that you're going to get out of time. That's their what people call selling your soul. People, that term in Illuminati, I know it has been so commercialized. It's just so watered down now. But really selling your soul means that you're gonna like stay in time. You're gonna be stuck in time forever, and that's called immortals. Immortal needs time to live. Eternals don't. You're outside of time. And you can be, if you're an eternal soul, you can start practicing who you truly are right now by being always present. That's the gift in the moment. Don't be worried about the past because the past already left, therefore it doesn't even exist. And don't be worried about the future because the future doesn't even. The only thing that truly exists is right now. And that's how you know. I always tell you, any student here that comes here, brothers, sisters, friends, student, whatever you want to, whatever you consider yourself when you come here, I always tell you that. If you're in the now, then you know that you won. But let's go ahead and finish this out real quick.
The earth has shaken many civilizations from her back, and it is not beyond reason that the principles of astrology and astronomy were evolved millions of years before the first white man appeared. So there's the books directly from Manly Palmer Hall, basically saying that the zodiac is in dispute, but it's not. The dispute is not how young it is. The dispute is actually how old it is. This is what both of these authors are saying, and you can read it yourself. So then he quoted from The Secret Doctrine, when he holds the book up and shows, and then even tells you the page number, like 438 and other stuff, and then basically says that, Blavatsky's basically in dispute of how old the zodiac is. Yes, she is. And she's saying as well that, and there's a whole chapter, and the chapter is literally called The Antiquity of the Zodiac. And the entire chapter is about how the zodiac is hella old. This is what he's referencing to make his point. And the problem is nobody in the comment section, just like I said, actually went and double checked it. He gave you the book, the page number was on, and none of the people that watched the video, none of the people that liked his post went and double checked it. Here's what it actually says about the zodiac right from the book. By the way, this is exactly what we said in the live stream, that the 12 patriarchs or the 12 tribes of Israel and all of those mentions, all of that is a mention of the zodiac, right. And that the zodiac was around and is at the foundation of the entire Old Testament and New. Right. That's exactly what we said. This is exactly what Helena Blavatsky says. Again, if the Bible is supposed to be an authority on the matter, then the zodiac is clearly mentioned in Kings, etc. Before the book of the law was found by Hilkiah, the high priest, the signs of the zodiac were known and worshipped. These were held in the same adoration as the sun and the moon, or to the 12 signs or constellations. As the marginal note in the English Bible explains, had followed for injunction for centuries. The Old Testament is full of allusions to the 12 zodiacal signs, and the whole scheme is built upon it. Heroes, personages, and events. So the point is that he's pointing this out, saying that she's refuting the zodiac. It's an entire chapter backing up what I'm saying. Not one errant looked it up. Not one. Wherever 12 are mentioned, they are invariably the 12 signs of the zodiac. The names of the Akkadian months were called by and derived from the names of the signs of the zodiac, and the Akkadians are far earlier than the Chaldeans. Whether the origin of the zodiac...
Well, that statement is incorrect. The Chaldeans are, in fact, older than the Akkadians.
...is Aryan or Egyptian, it is still of immense antiquity. Simplicius in the 6th century AD writes that he had always heard that the Egyptians had kept astronomical observations and records for a period of 630,000 years. One more here. Bailey devised a very ingenious means of proving that the earliest founders of the science of the zodiac belonged to an antediluvian primitive people. The zodiac was around pre-flood, in other words. Goes on to say, even mentions Scorpio, the eighth constellation, and found that in the presence of the eternal conformity of these divisions of the zodiac and of the names of the planets applied in the same order everywhere and always, and in the presence of the impossibility of attributing it all to chance and coincidence, which never creates such similarities, a very great antiquity indeed must be allowed for the zodiac. This all comes from a community post in which he's like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But mind you, he never actually points out and reads from the text. He's even given you page numbers. And you know who actually double checked it? Just like I said, literally nobody. And therein lies the problem.
That is troubling. It wouldn't matter if what page it is. We can take the names out of it. Just the fact that any YouTube page or anywhere, a church, a mosque, that you're not checking, and that's a big thing with the whole Christianity, that I don't call it that no more. I call it biblicanism. That's what had happened. I mean, I lived it. I know. I went through it. I took the preacher man's word for it. I took his word for it. I took what someone told him, that someone told him, and someone told him that someone told him. But when you actually take the moment to read for yourself, that's the only way you're really truly going to get it. And what I'll add is what he said. The quote that I think it was Blavatsky, I think they mentioned that as 2 Kings 3. Well, in 2 Kings 3 is the only time in the Bible that Yahweh or Yahuwah or Yahweh or Jehovah gets actually defeated. And Elisha, the prophet that's supposed to be standing with Moses, when Jesus translates and this and that, Elisha becomes a false prophet because he prophesies and says that they're going to go beat everybody. The Hebrew Israelites are going to go and defeat everyone, every city. They're going to kill everybody, right?
And you know what happens too with Elijah? During Passover. There's 8 days of, is there 8 days of Passover? No, Passover is only celebrated the first 2 days. The first 2 days you have a Seder. Seder in Hebrew means order. What you do at about the halfway point, right before you eat, is you leave a cup of wine out for Elijah to come in and have a sip of it and sit with you. The Jews believe that the Moshiach, their Messiah, will be from the lineage of Elijah.
Look, so by Yahweh's law, right? This is in the Bible. I'm not even talking about the Talmud, the real book that they go by. This is in your biblical Canaanite version. Okay, the King Jacob, aka King James Canaanite version Bible. It says the penalty for false prophecy is that your mom and dad have to thrust the sword through you. So basically, a false prophet has to be killed by their own parent, their mom and dad. That's Yahweh's law. One of the 613 laws of Yahweh, Yahuwah, Yahweh, Jehovah, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Elisha became a false prophet because he said, you're going to go beat everybody. Well, the king of Moab was named Misha or Mesha or Misha, however you want to pronounce it. Well, in the Vedic astrology, Misha or Mesha is Aries. That's what it is. And the Jews are the tribe of Aries because that's when Amenhotep IV, a.k.a. Akhenaten, a.k.a. Moshe, when the changeover happened from the age of Taurus, the bull, to the age of the ram, Aries, the god of
why the Jews on the high holidays blow the ram's horn at the holidays.
The shofar, exactly. So Misha or Mesha was the king of Moab. Now, before Ahab. He was giving King Ahab 100,000 lambs and 100,000 rams wool. It was a tribute to Israel. So when King Ahab died, he stopped giving it to him, and this is why they went to kill everybody and all the Moabites. Right? That's what they tell you. Now, so Aries, the Vedic terminology for Aries is Misha. Right? So, and this is in the Bible. So they got him cornered. It says the Israelite army has King Misha of the Moabites. And this comes from the Misha stele, which is actually the oldest, tangible, oldest text with the what they call Old Hebrew. It goes back to about almost 900 BC. So that right there tells you if they're talking about Misha and Aries and this and that, that already puts 600 BC out the door, because we have the Misha stele right here, also known as the Moabite stone, that tells you this. They're not talking about literal people. Now, was it people probably running up on people, killing people? Yes, but they're trying to tell you something bigger. So it says that it says that basically Misha sacrificed, because he had his back against the wall in the city, sacrificed his son to Shamash. Okay. Now, most people call Shamash the sun god, also known as Utu. All right. Which is the twin of Inanna or Ishtar or Easter, where Easter actually goes back 5,000 years before the story of Christ. So people do Easter Sunday and Ash and Palm Sunday, Ash Wednesday, and this and that. That goes back like into Sumerian times. Okay, some of the age of the Sumerians in the Mesopotamian area. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, if this Moabite stone, this Misha stele, was found in 850 BC, talking about this, and it's in your Bible, what the I think it was Blavatsky or whoever the video I showed referenced in 2 Kings chapter 3. That's two different sources that are talking about the same thing, that are backing up what Brother Micah and I are telling you. So already we've shown that the astrology or astronomy is already predating 600 or 700 BC with that fact right there.
All right. So should we start? You want me to start going through the presentation? Can you put that up on your screen?
Sure. Yeah, we can do that, because a lot of the stuff I got, honestly, if we don't get to it tonight, like I said, I'll give you the floor, and we can either come back on for part 2 together, or I can just follow up and just add what I got,
Okay.
solo, whatever. Because I know you got your wedding and everything. You said in a couple days.
I do.
You know what I'm saying? So you got a lot going on. So I'm sure we all, I can speak for I appreciate you, taking your moment out this evening and coming here with us. But Ryan, can you allow him to share his screen, please? He's going to just have the screen. What are you doing?
Oh, all right. I just need to put the screen up. I don't know. Can you guys? Okay, hold on. That's his screen. I need to see my screen up. Oh, wait a minute. He's gone. I have to let Chief come back in. Okay. All right. Let's get to work. I know you guys can all see this presentation right now. Let's talk about the Lascaux Caves. Let's talk about the Lascaux Caves. Hold on, let me just pull it up. All right, here we go. So check this out, guys. The Lascaux Caves Some say go back 40,000 years. Some say go back 17,000 years. Let's go through this real quick. Here's an article on the left that says the Lascaux cave painting 17,000 years ago. On the right, world's oldest cave painting shows human understood complex astronomy 40,000 years. But again, these are just two random articles that I pulled. So how do I know if this is telling the truth? Well, the story of the Lascaux caves goes something like this. There was a bunch of teenagers that went into one of these caves and made their way to the back of the cave. And when they went there, they saw something like this. These are two separate pictures, by the way. Let me separate them so you can see. Okay, you see the bull here, you see the lion here. There were a ton of others. What they did when they noticed these cave paintings is they realized that Taurus was the bull and the lion was Leo. So what they did was they brought in some scientists to date this. And what they found was that the wall was these etchings were 17,000 years old. 17,000 years old. Now you're saying, with what? Carbon dating? A lot of Christians will sit there and say carbon dating is inaccurate. And you know what? I'll give them that point. They're actually correct. Carbon dating is inaccurate if you're using it for millions of years. But however, up to 50,000 years, it's been found to be pretty accurate. Anyway, so they dated this. It came out to 17,000 years. So what they then did after they realized that these were two astrological symbols is they brought in astrologer with a computer, because we have the technology to do what I'm about to tell you they did. What they did was they rewound the sky back 17,000 years to see what it looked like, because we have computer simulation programs that do this. What they then did was they got an outlet of the stars, they printed it out, they superimposed it onto the wall, and all the animal constellations lined up. So this alone, we've known about the Zodiac for 17,000 years. The Enuma Elish, the Babylonian creation epic, 1894 BCE. Let me quote from it. He, Marduk, constructed stations for the great gods, fixing their astral likenesses as the stars of the Zodiac. He determined the year into sections. He divided it. He set up 3 constellations for each of the 12 months. Okay, now I'm just going to start jumping all over the place to fill you guys in with some information, because this information is not just talking about the age of the Zodiac. That was the first hour and change. I'm going to give you some random information. The King James Bible is wildly inaccurate. Let's talk about the King James Bible. King James was a homosexual demonologist, and he commissioned William Tyndale to translate it into English. And if you guys want to do a little deep diving, look at what Thomas More tried to do down the road to William Tyndale's reputation, and ask yourself why, when the Supreme Court of the United States comes back into session, do they hold a mass to venerate St. Thomas More? This is the mass that predates them going into a new year of cases. The patent for the King James Bible is held by the British Crown, who get royalties every time one is bought. The King James Bible has been tampered with. William Shakespeare was 46 in 1611 when the King James Bible came out. Psalm 46, the 46th word from the top is shake, and the 46th word from the bottom is spear. You can look this up in a Bible yourself. And the reason I'm talking about the King James Bible right now is because that is what Jason, during our podcast, quoted at me, where they were talking about Arcturus, where they didn't actually mention the word Zodiac. But in every other form, in every other Bible, they do mention the Zodiac, but not the King James one. And it's not just that. Thou shalt not kill is one of the 10 commandments, specifically the 6th in the Protestant tradition and the 5th in the Catholic tradition. Wait, hold on a second. Read that again. Thou shalt not kill is one of the 10 commandments, specifically the 6th in the Protestant tradition and the 5th in the Catholic tradition. So I grew up raised that the 5th commandment was honor thy father and thy mother. So what's really going on here? The original Hebrew phrasing is debated. with some translations favoring "you shall not murder." The distinction is important because the Hebrew word ratzach, used in the commandment, typically refers to the unlawful taking of a human life rather than all forms of killing. So in the King James Bible, again, you see "thou shalt not kill." That's a mistranslation. You can kill an animal. You can't murder an animal. So the King James Bible is inaccurate, but it's the most widely used one. In every other Bible, Mazzaroth means zodiac, and it's plural, not the singular Mazzaroth and Arcturus, as the King James Bible says. And incidentally, Arcturus isn't the Great Bear, as Jason mentioned it. It's the guardian of the Great Bear. And on the right here, you guys see Demonology by King James I. This is his book, and you can literally buy it on Amazon. He was a homosexual demonologist. So the King James Bible, that is supposedly the most widely used one, the most appropriated one, has wildly inaccurate information in it and has been tampered with. Keith,
Well,
do you want to add to that?
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head when, like, right when you jumped into that, when you said basically the King James Bible, like we said earlier, we've already said this numerous times, numerous occasions. There's truth in it, but it's sprinkled everywhere, and it's not even in chronological order.
Correct.
It's not in chronological order because the flood actually came before what they're talking about, Adam and Eve. So the flood that they're talking about Atlantis and Lemuria and going back, like you said, 17,000 years.
Well, the first book of the Bible is Genesis, and that's not the oldest book in the Bible. The oldest book in the Bible is the story of Job.
Right. And if you I don't know if you're aware of this, if you read the story of Job, what they're literally talking about is we always many people that come here know about there's one by fire, one by water. That's the red pillar and blue pillar, red pill, blue pill. So it's every other, what you would call pole shift, is one by fire, one by water. The book of Job is speaking of the one by fire that was before the flood. So the flood happened around approximately 12,000 years ago, and that's when they said the Saturnic priesthood showed up. The Anunnaki showed up in Mesopotamia, and basically, really, where they came from was what you would call Atlantis.
And you know how you can to add to that. You know how you can further build on that. The fact that the back of the Sphinx, when it was fully excavated, the back of the Sphinx is smooth, like water ran over it. And the last time there was water there was 12,000 years ago. And furthermore, if you look at the Sphinx, where it's facing, 12,000 years ago, it would have been facing the constellation Leo.
Vernal equinox. On the vernal equinox, it was exactly, there's Leo rising, looking dead in the face of the Sphinx. Like you said, going if you reverse it, and there's a lot of gatekeepers that'll tell you, no, that's false. No, because they don't want you to know this. Just like a Biblican will tell you, the whole earth is only about 5,000 years old. But what I say, you mentioned the Enuma Elish. I'll take it one step back further. The Atra Hasis, before they made it all. See, I always tell people,
I have it. I'm looking for it. I have it. Yeah.
When we get into the Sumerian text, the Atra Hasis is like the Old Testament, and the Enuma Elish is like the New Testament. What happened was, instead of the emphasis being on, it was Anu, Enki, and Enlil, but it was mainly Enlil in the Atra Hasis. That's like the ruler, and that's who became like the first Yahweh, Enlil. If you know how to sync it up and you know how to see with your single eye, you can.
It's also amazing that people don't realize that Yahweh, just like Moloch and Baal, was a Phoenician Canaanite deity. That the
Exactly.
Jews were actually my mentor Jordan Maxwell used to say that the Jews are henotheistic. They're not monotheistic. Henotheistic because they picked one God out of many. And we're talking about astrotheology.
Well, that's the same thing Muhammad did as well.
Right.
Muhammad did the same thing. Where the town where Muhammad came from had like I think it aligned with the 72. I think it was 72 deities, and originally he picked Sin, and then that became Allah, and and actually the feminine version of Allah, which is Allat, in Arabic is Allah,
Mm-hmm.
Allah, but it's thousands of. It actually predates Allah thousands of years, but
Mm-hmm.
in the Atra Hasis, which if you go by historians is on they say it's only about 200, 300 years older than the Enumera list, which could be true. I'm not here to like we said earlier, to be a master teacher you have to be a master student first and foremost. So could be true, maybe it is only 200, 300 years older, but it speaks about Zia Sudra in the Atra Hasis, and it gives a date of about 3000 AD. Okay, well, I mean, excuse me, BC. Um, According to how we would explain linear time in English right now, that's the equivalent of the date given, and it talks about Ziusudra, who is the king of Sharupak. Sharupak, it's a city. So basically, he's not even. Back then, they would call kings like what we would call a mayor today. He was just like a mayor of like a city, and it was Sharupak, and it was Zia Sudra. It's the same exact story of Noah, and it literally means Zia Sudra literally means in cuneiform he of long life. If you look it up, but if you, I've kind of self taught myself how to read cuneiform over about a decade now. And it doesn't just mean he of long life, it means he that made it through into long life. So what does that insinuate? That there was an event that he made it through, something that happened. Now the Atrahasis says that this was 3000 BC, but according to, and I don't want to make this all about archaics, but it's just a reference point. We just saw that the video that shows that reference according to the archaics timeline, the Great Flood was like 2300 BC, I think.
I think it was 2259 or so, 2239
Okay.
BC.
So if we go by the actual text that's written in stone, that's not being changed like, the King Iron Bush version every couple years, they're not changing the Sumerian tablets to the new, the Queen Elizabeth Sumerian tablet version. It's
Mm-hmm.
just the Sumerian tablets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It is what it is because it's in stone and then clay, cylinder seals. So it's not changing, just like the hieroglyphs, okay, on in the like the pyramid text and things. Now I did see someone mention earlier about the Zodiac. Was it called the Dendera? Do you want to answer that, brother?
To be honest, I haven't dove most into the Dendera. I've been
Okay.
told to, but I have
So
not actually. I'll let you
this,
take this one.
in short, this is what Dendera is. It is about the Great Mother, and the Great Mother is represented by the animal of a hippo. Okay, the hippo is in the center, and that's the Great Mother. And um, Dendera is just the name of the. They changed the name of the temple. It's in the temple of Hathor, but it's in Dendera. So they call it the Dendera Zodiac. So what Dendera is not like an alternate name for the word Zodiac. It's just where it happened to be. What happened, what had happened was, the Greeks, when they took over Babylon and that whole area, and Alexander and the Library of Alexandria and all that stuff, they repainted over it. So a lot of people, the story is they just restored it. They just, restored everything that was there. And the hippo, the name of the great mother was Tawarat. Tawarat. That's the name. It just came to me. That's the name of the hippo. Okay, Tawarat in Kemetic language. So the Greeks actually like refurnished it, you know what I mean, and like added paint to it and things like that. So a lot of people say, oh no, this don't have nothing to do with Egyptians, this is the work of the Greeks. Again, who knows? I don't speak on things, I only speak on what I know. I don't know if they changed anything or not, but it's the Dender Zodiac on the Temple of Hathor, it's on the ceiling. But what I can tell you is that and I don't know how anybody that teaches about like considers themselves a scholar of Kemetic, I don't like saying history, but Kemetic records, or or the Great Pyramid, or anything that has to do with that culture. I don't know how you couldn't know that the pyramid text, not even talking about the Dendera Zodiac, the pyramid texts that are in all the pyramids literally have the entire constellations, and I mean beyond the they have what's called the deacons. So they have the 48 constellations, the 12 main zodiacal signs, and they have what's it, 45? Is it 36 or 45 deacons, brother? I'm not.
Well, what do you have is you have like, I'll give you an example. You have like one zodiac sign, right? The zodiac sign can be broken down into 3 10-day segments called deacons. That's what they're called. That's why there's deacons in church, by the way.
Exactly.
3 10-day segments called deacons. I mean, it's what's found there at those locations.
So yeah, it's 30. It would be 36 deacons in a
Correct.
360 year. You know what I mean? So basically, it's 3 deacons per moon cycle, or even if they're not going off the lunar cycle, it still would be 3 deacons per month.
Correct.
And if you dig into now I'm using the word Kemetic, but if you know ancient Egyptian culture, they were called Tamarans originally. So like I'm talking about when Narmer in the first dynasty and all, it wasn't called Kemet and it wasn't called Egypt, it was called Tamara. When the first king, they called Narmer the first king of the first dynasty and everything. But they were painting this, what we call the Zodiac, from the very beginning. Djoser, the step pyramid of Djoser, who is just Joseph out of the Bible, who Joseph went to Egypt and helped them all out and brought prosperity and showed them how to store grain and do this and that, and so Djoser, who was the what they call the vizier of the pharaoh. So he
The
was
Grand Vizier.
vizier. Okay, the vizier of the pharaoh. So he was looked at as like a king because he was second in charge, but he wasn't the pharaoh who was considered God on earth.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So Djoser got that step pyramid, which aligns to this day a little bit off because of the slight variation as time moves on to 1 degree, about a 1 degree a year, kind of, the constellations move just a little itty bit. That's why you go back to these ancient sites like the Serpent Mound here in America, Turtle Island. It's in the Ohio Valley. It doesn't align exactly. It's about 1.5 degrees off now from the equinoxes and the solstices and things, because things do shift a little bit. You
It's
know what I
about
mean?
1 degree every 72 years, which is ironically the average age of a man. 1 degree every 72 years.
Look at that. You need the screen share again?
Yes, please.
Okay.
All right, so I'm just going to talk until I hear you interrupt. because I think you're going to have something to say for this one.
I'm gonna
Remember
let you go because last time I'll tell you the truth. Last time, like people got upset. It was like, Chief, because you were the first time I've ever had someone on, so it was new for I. It was learning experience for I.
Right.
So a lot of people gave me constructive criticism. Was like, Chief, in the future, let your guests flow a little bit more. So even though I'm over here and I'm ready to rock and roll, I'm gonna let you just go. I'm gonna kind of like hold back a little bit.
Okay. So we were talking about how the Jews were henotheistic. Now they'll tell you that the Abrahamics. Incidentally, Abraham, before he sacrificed Isaac or almost sacrificed Isaac, his name was Abram, father Ram, father of the people of Ram. Abram goes to Brahma, whereas Sarah or Sarai goes to Saraswati. It's Brahma and Saraswati. But aside from that, the Jews did not invent monotheism. In the year 1367 BC, well before Moses, Akhenaten established monotheism under a sun god in Egypt, and we know what Christianity is now. Abraham, as the story goes, started the one true God belief, but that is just not true at all. In fact, during this time period, there have been found to be many fertility gods and goddesses dug up in current times that the Jews have made. In fact, Moses, the supposed writer of the first 5 books of the Bible, known as the Pentateuch, he's a character who's based on 2 Egyptians. Akhenaten, do a little research into Moses being Akhenaten, who's the basis of Moses, and Tuthmosis is where he gets his name Moses from. Now, I'm going to explain to you guys Gnosticism in a pinch, because this is going to tie into the blood that I'm going to get into too. Yahweh was originally a Phoenician Canaanite deity. Same as Baal, same as Moloch. The Jews just plucked him out of there and took him. In fact, if you guys ever want to do a deep dive, look up the Phoenician Canaanite alphabet and the Hebrew alphabet. They are so strikingly similar. It would be like the difference between American English versus British English, with slight differences, like color being O-U-R versus O-R. It's just that similar. The Jews are henotheistic, not monotheistic, meaning they chose one God out of many. And as we just learned, that monotheism was created by Akhenaten in 1367. Also, that's why God is such a jealous God in the commandments. Genesis 6:7, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, and the creatures that move along the ground, for I regret that I have made them. Isaiah 45:7, I form the light and create darkness. I make well-being and create calamity. That's just one interpretation.
Well,
The
brother
other interpretation,
when I hear that, the first thing I think of is, if you know the Sumerian tablets, that's the same exact thing Enlil said to Enki and Anu and everybody else. Said these humans is being too loud. They disturbing my sleep. If you don't know, it wasn't like the stories. He wasn't in heaven or somewhere. He actually had a temple in the cedar forest, which is in the cedars are in Lebanon. The cedars of the great cedars of Lebanon. So, and Lil saying these human beings that you done made, Enki, they're disturbing my sleep. They're too loud. They're out there just imagine, like, how you hear native, how they they always try to insinuate that the natives are always going yee and stuff. It was we was probably having a good time. We probably was enjoying ourselves. So what? And Lil got upset and said, man, look, we finna just stop this whole project and wipe them all out. Same story as Yahweh. Same exact thing.
Where it says here, I make well-being and create calamity, that's also a different translation. It also can be translated to say, I create the good and make the evil. I am the Lord God. I am the Lord who does all these things. God commands Abraham to sacrifice Isaac. Incidentally, this is the genesis of the conflicts between the Arabs and the Jews. If you want to know where it goes all the way back to, guys, it's right here, what I'm about to tell you. Abraham had a wife, Sarah, who was barren. God told him to knock up his servant. He had a son named Ishmael. God then unbarrenned Sarah at 90, and they have a son named Isaac. The Muslims claimed Ishmael was supposed to be sacrificed by Abraham, and the Jews claimed it was Isaac who was supposed to be sacrifices. So you've got you got Isaac and Ishmael, and they separate, and then you get the Jews. and the Muslims. That's where it all begins. Aside from that, God demands a blood sacrifice but stops at the end. Through Abraham's faith, God allows the sacrifice to be transferred to animals, specifically rams, bulls, and goats. And if you know your zodiac, the ram is Aries, the bull is Taurus, the goat is Capricorn. Aside from that, Genesis 8:21, and the Lord was pleased with the aroma of the sacrifice from Noah. So think about this. The Lord smelt this animal in agony, burning to death, dying. The smoke went to the ceiling. He smelt it, and the Lord was pleased.
That's the same exact thing that Enlil said in the Sumerian tablets when he smelled, when he was getting ready to basically. Enlil is known as like what we would call an engineer today. In the if you're gonna look at the Anunnaki as real people or real beings, he was known as an engineer or the Lord of hosts, their army,
Well,
their
you know,
commander.
you know that the WikiLeaks dump of Hillary Clinton's email showed that she was asking about the tomb of Gilgamesh. That's why we invaded Iraq, because they found Gilgamesh's tomb, and he was
And got
11 feet tall.
and
And then 3 months later, it was completely destroyed. And it's the same thing that they do at like Gobekli Tepe. Like they discover all this ancient stuff that predates everything. So what do? They put olive trees above it because olives are protected and you can't tear them down. But yeah, Gilgamesh was real. You can look up the WikiLeaks emails by Hillary Clinton. There's
my
pictures
man
of
was,
it found.
when they found him, he was fresh, man. His skin looked like he still had cocoa butter on and stuff. Like he like for real well preserved. But what you just said about Yahweh and all that, and Leo says when he smelt, he actually asked, "What is that smell?"
Right.
In the cylinder seals, the Sumerian tablets, which are thousands of years older. And Leo says, "What is that smell?" And they said, "Oh, that's burning flesh. That's burning blood that you smell." And he said,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, that's a sweet savor.
Yep.
That's a sweet savor." He said,
Think
"Maybe
about
me."
that, guys. This is who people are praying to. Now, the perfect red heifer. No, this is where the demiurge comes into play. This is the idea of Gnosticism. That this wasn't the one true God, but a lesser God, one that had bloodlust, sacrifices and all the blood spilled. And the blood continues and it goes everywhere. The blood, guys. The blood. The perfect red heifer that needs to be sacrificed, upon which the third temple can be built, and all the sacrifices made by the Jews in the Bible. The Catholics with their transubstantiation, that they are literally eating the body and drinking the blood of Christ. The Catholics with the blood of St. Januarius refers to a vial of what is to be believed to be the blood of the martyred bishop St. Januarius, preserved in the Naples Cathedral. A recurring event known as the miracle of liquefaction involves this dried blood miraculously turning to liquid on special occasions through the year. The Christians who constantly say they are covered in the blood or that the Savior's precious blood saved them. These are all demonic blood rituals, and people have no idea what they're reading. The liquefaction, and this is a picture of it right here, guys. This is the blood. It's in the vial right here. It's in this little container. The liquefaction of St. Januarius' blood is a recurring event, traditionally occurs 3 times a year. On the Saturday before the first Sunday in May, commemorating the transfer of his remains to Naples, on September 19th, his feast day, and on December 16th in Thanksgiving for averting the 1631 eruption of Mount Vesuvius. Failure to liquefy is a really bad omen for the Catholics. So guys, ask yourself, what is all this worship surrounding blood? Why? Is this something that needs to be prayed to? Do you need to be giving your energy, your life aura to all these bloody? I mean, is this what you guys want to give your energy to? Now I'm just going to jump to something else real quick. Jesus disappears at 12 and comes back at 30, and no one has any clue why. This has been a subject of great debate, but the answer is quite simple, actually. What happens to a young Jewish boy at the age of 12? He becomes bar mitzvahed. Now, Jews will tell me that it's on the 13th year. Correct. It can be on the 13th year, but guess what? How old are you if you have your bar mitzvah during the year and your birthday is December 25th? Now I'm going to have Christians tell me that his birthday wasn't on December 25th. I've heard it all. But as through the story goes, this is what it is. So he's 12 on the 13th year because he's not having his bar mitzvah at the end of the year, because you never have it at the end of the year. He becomes bar mitzvahed at 12. He becomes a man. So Jesus becomes a man and leaves to study. He starts his ministry at 30. But why? The ancient Jewish religion has roots in Saturnalia worship before it. That's why their day of rest is the Saturday or the Saturn day. So why 30? Well, Saturnalia worshippers said that you were not allowed to become a teacher until Saturn came back to the point it was at when you were born. It's called your Saturn return. It just so happens that Saturn takes 30 years to come back, which is why he disappears at 12 and comes back at 30. It's quite obvious. Now, if I show you this real quick, this picture, you guys have seen this before, but I'm going to explain this to you right now. Ezekiel's inaugural vision. In my 30th year, in the 4th month of the 5th day, while I was among the exiles by the Kebar River, the heavens were opened and I saw visions of God. So remember, the 30th year, guys. Remember, 30 is the Saturn return. This is when he gets to see God. Ezekiel 1, the wheel. When he turned 30, he saw God. Jesus started at 30. Genesis 32:30 references Jacob in the pineal gland. He called the place pineal. Well, what about this picture? Well, to the right of Ezekiel, right here, let me see if I can draw on it. Hold on. Right here, guys. What you're looking at right here is known as the tetramorph. And what the tetramorph is it's the 4 fixed signs, because the lion is in front, the bull is on the left, the man is on the right, and the eagle, which is the evolution of the Scorpio, is on the top. There are the 4 fixed signs. So what are the 4 fixed signs? Well, you have 12 zodiac signs, and you have 4 seasons. So there's 3 signs in each season. The first sign in the season is called the cardinal sign. That's why there's cardinals in church. If you were to separate a zodiac sign into 3 10-day segments called deacons, this is why you have deacons and cardinals as positions of power in church. The cardinal is the first sign. The fixed is the second sign because it's between the first and the third. It's smushed in the middle of the season. So Taurus would be spring, Aquarius would be winter, the eagle, Scorpio would be fall, and the lion would be Leo. Now, what is this right here? This right here is known as the Orpheum, I believe. Yeah, that's what it's called, the Orpheum. And this is what the angels look like. Now, you'll notice that God is here in the sun because, again, God was worshipped as the sun, as Akhenaten brought it over. And, I mean, there's just so much hidden information in here.
So,
Now,
brother, it wouldn't be right if I didn't add this right now.
Yeah.
That goes back to the Babylonian zodiac. So what it is the equinoxes and the solstices. Like you said, the 4 cardinal points is Aries, which is spring, which is fire.
Correct.
Cancer, which is summer, which is water. Libra, which is autumn, which is air. And Capricorn, which is winter, which is earth. So then,
Exactly.
like you said, you got the 4 mutable. Well, what's mutable? It's the end in the beginning. It's the first that shall be last, the last shall be first. So that's
Mutable would be the water sign, guys.
So Gemini is air. That's the end of spring, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Virgo is earth. That's the end of summer. Sagittarius fire, the end of autumn.
Fall.
And Pisces is water, the end of winter. So, and then like you said, the 4 fixed, that's the middle. That's the Taurus, Earth, Leo, Fire, Scorpio, Water, Aquarius, air. So we're coming into the age of Aquarius. So what does that mean? We're not at the end of the world. We're in the so Pisces is actually the end. Mm-hmm. So Aquarius is the transition.
Right. So let me explain this to people a little bit more. So we've got looking at my wheel right now. We're leaving Pisces and we're entering Aquarius. Now, if I were to show you the zodiac wheel, let me show you guys this real quick. Do you guys see these dividing lines right here that divide the signs? Those don't actually exist. If I'm looking in the sky at night, they're not like divisions of lines. That's not what they are. What they do is they represent what's known as a cusp or a handover date. It's the last 3 days of a sign and the first 3 days of the next sign where the energies blend. So what happens is you have 12 zodiac signs and you have 12 cusps. So a zodiac sign is 30 days. So the last 3 is 3 out of 30. The next sign is another 30. So the first 3 out of 30. So what you basically have is 6 divided by, or 60 divided by 6. Because you have 60 days over 2 signs versus the 3 days at the end and 3 days at the beginning. So that's 1/10. Well, now do the age of the zodiac, because the zodiac goes as the age goes, it goes backwards. It's 2160 years. So what you do is you divide that by, 2160 plus 2160 for the 2 signs, for Pisces and Aquarius. So that's 4,320. Divide that by 10, 432. Is that not a harmonic frequency? And also on top of which, 432. Remember, through the year, the sun goes through the zodiac this way. Backwards, it goes this way. So, at the blending of the energies, remember, it's only 6 days for 2 months. The last 3 and the first 3. But when you're talking about the 4,320 over the period of 2 signs, it's 432. So we are currently right now in a 432-year period where the signs of Pisces are being handed over to Aquarius, and we have Aquarian energy in us. That's why we can see people holding on to the Pisces so long, and so many people are getting upgrades right now.
Well said. I mean, excellent. That was excellent, bro. The way you articulated that. Can't say it any better. That's why right now there's a bunch of people who are holding on to Ra Legion. And like you said earlier, you have to be, I'm not telling you to leave yourself spiritually wide open so like any energy can just come and use you. But you have to be willing to let go of certain things. And originally, if we go back, that's what the snake represented. Not nothing malevolent. It represented the coming out of the skin, and you got to leave something behind if you're going to come into something new. You know, like
I'm so happy that you mentioned the serpent, because look at what slide I'm on right now. The Lord sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, so that many of the people died. So the people came to Moses and said, "We have sinned because we have spoken against the Lord, and you intercede with the Lord that he may remove the serpents from us." And Moses interceded for the people. Then the Lord said to Moses, and this is important, "Make a fiery serpent and set it on a standard or a staff, and it shall come about that everyone who is bitten, when he looks at it, will live." Well, don't we know this is the rod of Asclepius from the Greek times? Doesn't this become the Caduceus? Doesn't this go back to the Kundalini Yoga? Are they telling us all the same stuff that we just refuse to listen to?
And to add to that, it was then put into their temple and burned incense and even blood sacrificed for 700 years. 700 years until, I think, was it King Josiah, I think, came in and took it down out of the temple. So, and remember, thou shalt not erect any graven images.
Mm-hmm.
So here we have another hypocritical
Mm-hmm.
oath being recognized.
Right. I wonder why that's taken so seriously by the Muslims, and yet the Catholics will erect Mary, and then the Christians will sit there and they'll go, "This is idolatry." But they'll also look at Jesus on the freaking cross. And is that not also idolatry? I don't know. It seems like the Muslims have a more.
And the Biblican today, they've even distorted the message now where they show Christ the same age as Mary, his mother. and they're marrying each other. When really in the Gnostic text, that actually is older. It was Mary Magdalene.
Mm-hmm.
That was the story behind that is the
There's three
sacred.
Marys. There's three Marys. You have Mary, mother of Jesus. You have Mary Magdalene, and you have Jesus' aunt, Mary of Clopas. You have three Marys. If you ever wonder why it's Mary's, I mean, you might be able to speak better on this because I can't remember all of them. But throughout the ages, the matriarch has always been an M. Mary, Miriam, Mare. Throughout the years, it's always a different version of it.
Well,
If you look at if
this
you look
goes
at the,
back like
sorry,
even to Lumeria. So Atlantis and Lumeria, and then when the survivors of the cataclysm came, you just like it's going to be again here in this density, this realm. It's going. Some of the malevolent people are going to make it through, and some of the benevolent people are going to make it through. That's what happens every cycle. And so you had the Atlanteans come in with their priesthood to the Mesopotamia, and then you also had survivors of what we call Lumeria, and then so you have Sumeria, that was matrilinear system. But then it always gets hijacked by this patriarch system. That's why in the Bible, you don't know who the seventh child of Jacob or Jacob is.
Mhm.
Actually, it's Dino.
Lumeria, Sumeria. It's Maria. That's what they're basically. Yeah.
And it's it goes back to the waters of the mother.
If you look at the glyph for what the sign of Virgo is, Chief, it's an M with a Jesus fish attached to it. It's an M. The Virgo, it's the M because it's always with an M, the name. The Chaldeans had Maria or Mare, I think. I mean,
And what does what is, I don't like saying rules Virgo, but what energy is prevalent in Virgo? It's Venus, and we know that Venus goes back to the sacred feminine energy. It always has, and but until it became Lucifer in the 1600s by who you mentioned earlier, the hermaphrodite King James, the demonologist, Lucifer. But previous to that, and then Venus with Ishtar, Inanna. I mean, it goes back thousands and thousands of years. I mean, we're talking like at least 7,000 years just on that. Matter of fact, I'll grab a note real fast. I know you're in the middle. I don't mean to interrupt you, but there's something actually called. It's one of the oldest texts on Earth, and it's the Venus tablet of Amisa Dukwa, and it's they found it in 1701 BC, and and then there's another tablet that they found in 1000 BC that's called Enuma Anu Enlil, and it's actually right now in the British Museum. And the Venus tablet is all about Venus and the feminine energy. And it's just basically a whole tablet that tells all the Venus cycles. Because if you don't know, Venus mirrors the moon cycles. It has 14 cycles, exactly like the lunar cycle. So a lot of people don't know that the horns that they put on the devil, that originally comes from the symbol of the Great Mother. That was the Venus, the horn thing. It wasn't the moon. Everyone thinks it's the crescent moon. It comes from Venus. A lot of people don't know that, but I digress.
So this is. Let me just read this real quick. Simply and always has been described the path of the sun over the ecliptic as the sun dances its way around the 12 zodiacs. I'll give you some examples, guys. Mithra, born on December 25th, the Immaculate Conception. He is the sun god and Messiah. 12 disciples, accepted sins, was killed, then resurrected, becoming God incarnate, Cult includes communion, baptism. Adonis, born December 25th, Greek god of fertility, aka Babylonian Tammuz, aka Syrian savior. He was killed and buried, resurrected 3 days later. Dionysus, born on December 25th as a result of the Immaculate Conception, Greek god of winemaking, aka Bacchus, aka savior and liberator of mankind, naturally with communion. Osiris, born in late December to a virgin, Egyptian sun and underworld god, aka judge of the dead, aka one of the Egyptian trinity. Ruled over 12 kings, betrayed, killed, buried, risen after 3 days. Horus, born December 25th to Isis as a result of Immaculate Conception from the spirit of Osiris. God of the sun and light, one of the Egyptian trinity, embodied the resurrection of God, is the sun. These are just a few examples, guys. They're all telling the same story. The reason that these gods are born on December 25th is because that is the day that the sun in the winter first rises a degree and starts to make its way back up to its height in the zodiac. Starting on December 25th, the days are going to get longer, the nights are going to get shorter.
So, brother Micah, it's in the mystery schools. What it's known as is called it's called the mystery drama.
Mhm.
So, it's all about your soul returning home, and like many lords before him that you just mentioned, to the place beyond opposites. So what we talked about earlier about the two thieves, where the two become one.
Mhm.
And on Palm Sunday, which is in Aries, and Ash Wednesday, which is usually in Pisces, the ashes are placed on the foreheads from the embers of last year's palm leaves, which have been blessed with holy water and the sign of the cross. Now, the embers come from the harvest season, which the months that we call September or amber. So September is the 7 ambers. Then we have, October, which October just means the head or work, or that's because of the harvest. You had to put in work, so that it's October just means the 8th month or the 8th moon that you got to put in work for the harvest. But you got September or Septamber, November, the 9th amber, and December, or the Deca amber, the 10th amber. So this is where they burn the palm leaves and they use the ashes and they put the cross on the forehead, and this symbolically revives the life force of the tree of life. Now, this is Palm Sunday, which begins the Holy Week that ends in the resurrection at Ishtar, Easter. Now, the whole of Holy Week, this is the mystery drama, or the Passion of Christ, and it's reenacted every year, just as they were in the mysteries of, like you said, Addis in Rome, and the mysteries of Osiris at Abydos, and which culminated in the raising of the Jed column. So, if you don't know what the Jed column is, this all has to do with man's infatuation with what we would call the pole shift today. That's what it is. It's where the menorah originates from. Literally, when the changeover event happens, the plasma that you see at what we call the North Pole, and this is a reenactment of, it's in the Vedic terminology, the Sanskrit text, it's known as Shiva, the destroyer of worlds, but brings the new world. So even though we're talking how you're talking on a macro level with the sun on the winter solstice,
Mhm.
there's an even bigger macro level, which is the precession of the equinoxes, which it's like the clock. It has 12, but it goes around twice. So when it strikes 12, you got high noon, that's fire, and you got midnight, that's water. So it's like we said earlier, one by fire, one by water. Man, over the thousands of years of this knowledge being passed on, got so infatuated with this changeover event, they became almost enveloped by it. And this is why a lot of these holy books, holy meaning holography, meaning the light, the story of the light that happens, this event that happens, this plasma, that's where the blood sacrifices and all that have to do, because plasma's in the blood. Just like with Solomon or Soul of Man's temple was shaped like a penis in a vagina, that was sex magic, because the only things in your body that has plasma is your sexual fluid and your blood. So that's the two highest magics you can do, besides something called geomancy, where they actually hack the ground. That's when you see what you call star forts, when it was being used for benevolent purposes, zero energy, Tartarian technology, things like that. Or what they're doing now, where cities are set up like microchips and things like a computer. It's an AI overlay now, instead of using the natural energy.
And when is Easter? Every single year, because the days change. Well, you have to have the spring equinox first. And then after the spring equinox, there has to be a full moon. And then after the full moon, there has to be a first Sunday after that. And that's when Easter is.
So you got the moon and the sun, Sol, O, moon. So you have the culmination of the solar worship and the lunar worship, and Isis, Ra, and El. That's the moon, the sun, and the planets led by Saturn. And a lot of people that come here already know that, but for those that don't, there you go.
So, guys, check this out real quick. Chapter 125, Egyptian Book of the Dead. The Declaration of Innocence before the Gods of the Tribunal. You talk about, everyone always talks about the Ark of the Covenant. Is it real? Is it real? Where is it? It's the 10 Commandments, and then we can go into Moses and all that stuff. But listen to this. This is chapter 125, Egyptian Book of the Dead. O swallower of shades, who came forth from Kernet, I have not slain people. That is, thou shalt not kill. O doubly evil one, who came forth from the Brucerite nome, I have not had intercourse with a married woman. Thou shalt not covet your neighbor's wife. O he who prospers the common people, who came forth from Asiud, I have not cursed a god. Thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain. In chapter 125, Egyptian Book of the Dead, are 3 of the 10 Commandments right here. The rest are in the 42 positive affirmations of Mott, but nobody reads anymore. So, and how about Lazarus is Osiris, who Horus raised from the dead? You guys know the story of Lazarus, Jesus raising Lazarus, right? Sometimes a dead body, when it's on a gurney, will do this. Come up and do this. And that's because that's called the Lazarus effect. It's a twitch that happens within the body sometimes. If you ever talk to anybody that's been around dead bodies, they do it sometimes. That's why, the mummification like this. So when you're talking about Lazarus, the Greek name Lazarus equals Eliezer in Hebrew and means whom God helps. Is it a strange coincidence, firstly, that the person whom Jesus resurrects happens to be named whom God helps? And secondly, that Eliezer, or breaking down its original components in Hebrew, El-Azer, closely resembles a combination of the Semitic word for God, El, with the Egyptian name for Osiris, Osir. Lazarus.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Azar is just Asar.
Lazarus is just retelling Osiris. That's all it is. So, guys, just so you know what we're talking about with the Zodiac and why it's so important. The sun tells the hour of the day. The moon tells the day of the month, and the Zodiac tells the month of the year. It's a perfect calendar. In our heavens, wherever we're located in the universe, we have a perfect calendar. This is a fingerprint of creation, guys. This is a calendar that has taken us thousands and thousands and thousands of years to figure out, which people use against us without people knowing. You even have the turtle. The turtle was revered back in the day. You know this, Chief. Well, why? Well, if you count the inner rings of the turtle, there's 13 of them. And if you count the outer rings, there's 28. 13 at 28 plus 1 day for the new year. The turtle was the calendar. They used to use it. That's why it was viewed this way. Any turtle, basically. So Moses goes up to get the 10 Commandments. We were just talking about that. When he comes down, he sees them worshiping a golden calf. The sun is the gold, and the calf is the bull Taurus. They were worshiping the sun in Taurus, whereas they are the Jews, or the people of Aries, as Chief said. So he breaks the commandments, becoming the first lawbreaker because he broke the law. Now, the ancient Egyptians used to worship the sun in Taurus. The hieroglyphs of the bull with the sun between its horns, as you can see right here, right there. There's the sun between its horns. The Jews are the people of Aries. That's why they blow the ram's horn to the sky in the holidays. Now, the Christians are the people of Pisces. That's why they have the Jesus fish as shown below. This is the Vesica Pisces. Well, there's one fish. And come on. There's two fish right here.
And who rules Pisces? Who governs? Who's the main energy that rules Pisces? That's Jupiter, right?
Yeah.
So the rock that my church shall be built upon is the Jupiter.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So check this out. So the ancient Egyptians were this, the Jews were this, the Christians were this. Now we're entering the age of Aquarius. One world religion headquarters said to open up next year. You guys have to understand the age of Aquarius is going to be like this. The bull was why they sacrificed the bull. This whole sacrificing the red heifer thing to bring back the third temple is bull worship. That's not correct with the age we're in. Aquarius is the man holding the water pitcher. Aquarius is the sign of the man, whereas Virgo is the sign of the woman. It's going to be the spiritual evolution of mankind coming up. But there's also going to be a polarity to that. There's going to be a negative aspect to that, and that's going to be the merging with machines. And do you know why they want your consciousness in a machine that doesn't break down? Because if you're dead, they can't tax you. Whereas if your consciousness could transform into a machine, they can keep you working forever. So we were talking about earlier the book of Job being the oldest book, right? It is. This is, and people are always like, give me some academic work on this. Well, this right here is pulled from the Encyclopedia Britannica. And if you were to go into it, you would see they talked about the first century, something known as the Synod of Jamnia. Now, what happened was, at 100 AD, the Old Testament wasn't canonized, which meant people were reading the books all over the place. It wasn't in its order that it is now. The Synod of Jamnia got together to do that. That's where they decided where the book of Job goes, where all the other books go. Now, there's something interesting that happened, too, because this was in 100 AD. Around 70 AD, during the destruction of the Second Temple, a gospel came out, the Gospel of Mark, which is the oldest gospel that there is in there. Some say that this all came from the Gospel of the Holy 12, all four of the Gospels, but I'm not going to get into that. The Gospel of Mark is the oldest gospel. It came out 70 AD. During the Synod of Jamnia, the rabbis and the politicians were debating whether or not to include the book of Mark into the Old Testament. Think about that. So, I just wanted to share that. Now, this is pretty interesting. A study by Dr. Heidi Yellen suggested that the fabrics in our wardrobe influence our well-being in ways we never imagined. Grounded in bioenergetics, the study revealed that everything vibrates at its own unique frequency. Yellen found that everything, including fabrics, has a unique vibrational signature that can influence our energy. Dr. Yellen conducted her research with the Ag Environ machine, a unique instrument that she used to measure the frequency of fabrics. It was created by a professor at Texas A&M. Who he was is irrelevant to this, but basically the study indicates that the frequency of a healthy human body rests at 100, so the homeostasis, right? When the frequency decreases below 100, it could imply a disruption in the body's natural balance, potentially leading to various physical and psychological symptoms. The study suggested a relationship between fabric frequencies and human health. High-frequency fabrics like linen, hemp, organic cotton, and wool impart energy, while low-frequency synthetics might drain it. Linen fabric, as an ancient as ancient as civilization itself, is the standout fabric in yarn study with a staggering frequency of 5,000. This is significantly higher than the human body's frequency, which is around 100. Linen's high frequency suggests that it could impart energies to the wearer, potentially boosting vitality and well-being. Historically, linen has been revered for its healing properties, often used in bandages, linen sheets, and clothing for its natural resistance to bacterial growth and fungi. Like linen, wool resonates at a frequency of 5,000. Organic cotton stands out with a frequency of 100. Silk, a fabric known for its luxurious texture, was measured at a frequency of just 10. Rayon, another fabric examined in the study, recorded a frequency of 15. Synthetic fabrics like polyester, acrylic, and nylon with a 0 frequency. Now here's the other thing too. When fabrics are mixed together, even if both are positive, it cancels out to 0. So with everything that I had just told you guys, Leviticus 19:19, nor shall a garment of mixed linen and wool come upon you. Deuteronomy 22:11, thou shalt not wear a garment of diverse sorts, as of woolen and linen together. So Chief was talking about before how, the Bible has the good information in it, but you got to know where to look, and it doesn't have it all. Obviously, people shouldn't be put to death, but whenever you hear people say, "Oh, well, why am I?" The Bible says that if I wear 2 different linens or 2 different cloths or mixed fabrics, you should be put to death. Well, number one, they say that you should be put to death because the Jews get their punishments and their information on how to handle certain situations through the Code of Hammurabi, which is how things used to be punished. So obviously, with mixed linens and wool and whatever, you shouldn't be killed. But there is a very scientific reason on why you shouldn't mix fabrics, and I believe this is it. So,
Well, it's because they want you to vibrate at. Originally, it was benevolent information, so you could vibrate at your highest vibration, in harmony, basically. But it got hijacked to the point because in today's language, what we would call loose energy,
right,
they got us wearing plastic. Polyester is you're wearing plastic, and they can literally make it feel like it's wool, silk, cotton, and you're wearing plastic.
right,
Like you can be eating organic, doing all that, but if you look at your shirt and you think it's a cotton T-shirt, and it actually says 20% cotton, 80% polyester.
right,
You know what I mean? And even your socks, even having unless you're wearing like wool socks or linen, which linen comes from the flax plant. If anyone that doesn't know, linen just a lot of people think linen just means like your sheets or something. Real linen is the highest amplifier of your magnodielectric field, or what many would say electromagnetic field, or your aura, your toroidal field. Linen is the biggest amplifier of that, but they got us wearing plastic and things because that's friction. So now your toroidal field is actually fighting harder against something, and it's creating friction, and that's excess energy. Like you said earlier about the transhumanist agenda, that they can't tax a quote unquote dead body.
right,
Well, what is the taxation? The taxation is energy at when you get to the top of the totem pole, or what many would say top of the pyramid. It's energy. They want your energy because the ultimate thing here is, like I said earlier, the immortals, the Elohim immortals, okay, that want to live forever, but they've already cut their umbilical cord to source, meaning they're already transhumanists. They already are part AI. That's why they have these beings we call Anunnaki, Enki and Enlil and this and that. When they think they're gods, the Elohim, the Anunnaki, they already merged with technology. If we look at it from a linear point of view, what's been unveiled to our eyes, they've been stuck in time 13.8 billion years.
Yep.
We want to talk about the Zodiac being only 600 BC. These beings have been stuck. If we're going to make a linear line and say, Christ interrupted time so much that it made a zero. So now we have 0 point, which is what Christ is. It's actually your 0 point energy. So they tell you the truth, the revelation of the method, so they can close the conjure. Because we're in a free will universe. So if the truth is not accessible, they cannot close their conjure. That means just imagine a circle that has a little opening in it. The opening can only be sealed if they unveil the truth with their lies. They have to have the truth there for you, but they don't have to tell you where it is. You can see it in a Marvel movie. See, they've indoctrinated the generations before us to think it got to come from CNN, aka Canaan, or the Fox, aka the Red Man Edom, or it got to come from Ishmael or Isaac. It got to come from Palestine or Israel. It got to be this one or that one. The Cain-Abel system. And that's what it is. And really, we got to get our... When the quote, make your eyes single and full of light, and I see what you got on the screen. Yes, physically, in your anatomy, you do have the pineal gland. But they being the elites even hijacked this doctrine. It was not malevolent. It was to teach you something about your anatomy, to get you to vibrate and be your best you. But they hijacked this in Egypt and made it into what? A Ra legion. They started worshiping Horus and Osiris. And to this day, we still have the skull and bones, the 322, which is actually 223, because the original 33 tribes are only separated by 223 genes. That's where and Genesis 322, if 322, if they figure out the mystery of the tree of life, they'll be just like us. But no, we are higher than them. We are eternal souls. We are not stuck in time. Okay, time backwards is emit. They need you to be in time to emit your eternal aura, your golden light that they tell you in the Sumerian tablets that they came here to mine for gold. No, they came to mind, M-I-N-D, for gold. Your golden light, your A-U-R-A, your aura. They didn't come here mining for gold for their spinning ball planet out in the Milky Way. Just had to add that, brother.
Love that. Absolutely love it. Okay, guys, so remember how I mentioned Genesis 32:30? 30, again, 30, remember the Saturn return. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face and my life was preserved. The eye of Horus is the same thing if you take a sagittal cut of the human brain, which means if I just split it like this and I open it like this right here is the corpus callosum, this right here is the pineal gland. Now, check this out. In many Buddhist traditions, 49 days is the total mourning period, with prayers conducted every 7 days across 7 weeks. These Buddhists believe that rebirth takes place within 49 days after death. The Jews have a 49-day period called Lag BaOmer. It's the counting of the Omer. 49 years is also called a Jubilee. The Catholics have a 49-day period called the Pentecost. This is after Easter, and it's when you get your communions, confirmation dones, weddings, all that kind of stuff. Well, it just so happens that through scans now, through sonograms, we can tell that the pineal gland becomes visible on the 49th day of gestation. This is a fact. So these ancients knew all this information. They just were hiding it like this, for example. Hell, the flaming inferno. Right? That's why they tell you you're going to die if you don't believe their literal religion. But here, a religion. But how do we detect pain? Through the nervous system, the brain, the spinal cords, the nerve endings, and the neurons. So let me ask you a question, guys. It's real simple. When you pass away, when you give up your ghost and you shed all of this, How are you going to detect pain? You can't. The truth of the matter is, it's what they've always done. It's inverted and perverted. Hell is winter on earth. The idea of a fiery pit where you burn for all eternity is ridiculous when you think about it logically. Hell is winter on earth. Why? It's cold, the vegetation and beautiful flowers and plants are dead, the trees shed their leaves and bear no fruit, it's freezing cold out, people tend to get sick more often, dangerous animals, if they're not hibernating, are starving and scrounging for food. It's dangerous for humans. The Italian word for winter is inverno. Again, flip a letter and pervert it, inferno. You get the concept of hell. This picture right here is Dante Alighieri's The Divine Comedy. Satan's in the bottom level of hell. Does that look like it's burning? No, it's frozen cold. It's a tundra because his wings are flapping so hard that he freezes everything over. Dante knew hell was winter on earth. Why don't you? They even tell you this in the Bible, Chief. Do they not say there will be wailing and gnashing of teeth? Chief, when do you gnash and chatter your teeth? In the winter or the summer?
Brother, and listen, to add, and I know you already know this. When are the cold months, particularly in the northern hemisphere? We know that Australia, the southern hemisphere, is a little bit different, but all of this is coming from northern hemisphere mythos. So
Exactly.
so we're
That's what I'm saying.
so
Like if the
we're
Bible was
speaking
written in South Africa, it would be
right.
inverted.
Right. So it's still the same. It's just it would just be a reflection. So when it's cold, who governs those months of Capricorn and Aquarius? When it's cold, that's Saturn. Satan. So now you're in hell when it's freezing cold, Saturnalia in
Mhm.
December, when the Romans are celebrating Saturnalia in January, the god of two faces, and this and that, Janus, and it's all goes back. So Saturn, when Saturn is at its peak, is when the sun is at its weakest. When
Exactly.
the when the Son of God is at his weakest, Satan or Saturn is at his strongest in the cold moons or months when you're freezing and, like you said, chattering and gnashing of teeth.
hmm Let's talk about Saturn and Satan. Satan doesn't exist. He's not a red devil with a tail and a pitchfork. In fact, the earliest paintings of him in the 900s, he was actually blue, which is hence, by the way, for all of you guys in America, that's where we get the Duke Blue Devils from. The Hebrew word for Satan is Hashatan, which literally translates to adversary. In proper context, two competing spirits are Satans to one another. Lucifer, he is known as the light bringer. Genesis 1:3, and God said, "Let there be light." How can there be light without invoking the light bearer, the light bringer? Lucifer is immediately mentioned in the Bible, if not by name, but by action and purpose. Lucifer is also known as the morning star. The morning star is also known as the planet Venus. The reasoning is, if you go out and look at the sky just before the sunrise of the east, you will see a bright light directly above it. Look at it tomorrow morning. Watch the sun as like it's as like in dusk, right? As like you can start to see the blue of the sky, and the sun is barely starting to come up. Look directly above it. You'll see Venus. It announces the arrival of God's only begotten Son, the light of the world, every single day. Lucifer is also known to have a pentagram. That's his symbol. The pentagram, I'm not going to go into all its throughout history. I mean, originally Christians used the pentagram. That was a Christian symbol because the 5 points of it reflected the 5 points of reflection of Jesus. You have the two wrists, the crown of thorns, the spear on the side, and the nail between the feet. That's 5. Continuing with Lucifer as Venus, if you follow Earth and Venus's orbit around the Sun in a year's time, they almost connect at 5 points. This is what it looks like. There it is, at its closest 5 points. You get the pentagram.
That's also where they get Allah from as well. Arm, leg, arm, head. That's anagram. And, people think that people just like started making these things up.
Right?
But if you don't know, like the word Hebrew is a Greek word, and it's an anagram for her web, because the Greeks understood that the original theology of this realm was the Great Mother. that was before the hijacking of what we know as that. It really started in Atlantis.
Right.
But what we know, but what most people know here is, Mesopotamia.
Right. Well, here, look at this. This is Sol On's temple. Right? Here are the testicles, Jachin and Boaz.
Tubal Cain.
Tubal Cain, exactly. Here is the porch, which is the base of the penis. Here is the shaft, the holy place. Here is the head, the Holy of Holies. And right here is the ark that stores the DNA Torah information. If I connect it right here, it's inside the female. Here are the fallopian tubes. This is sex magic, guys.
And,
Just like
and look, and look what the female is. It's the store chamber, so that means that's where the sustenance is stored. So they're inserting, and after the magic rite, RITE, is done with the blood magic on, the ark, the archon. When they turn the archon, the Ark of the Covenant, which, if you don't know, encapsulated the Ben stone. Ben means son, the son of the sun. So they had the Ben stone in the Ark of the Covenant. That was basically crystal technology from the old world. When I say old world, I mean Atlantis. Crystal
that's what
technology.
Edgar Casey said. Edgar Casey said that the Atlanteans, it wasn't in a day. No, Plato said it, in a day and a night of misfortune. Oh, was it Homer or Plato?
I think that was Homer.
It might have been Homer.
I think it was Homer. Yeah.
It was one of the two guys. If you know in the chat, please let us know. We don't know everything.
Well, I know Homer went to him, and Plato went to no.
Well, basically, Edgar Casey, when he was doing his channeling, said that the reason that the Atlanteans disappeared is because they overcharged the crystals and it caused an explosion. Meanwhile, now we're only relearning crystal technology. They're storing movies and images in them. That's going to be the future of computers. These little tiny, terabyte, computer chips, they're going to be replaced with crystals. There's two storage mediums in the entire world that are nearly infinite that you can store information in. One is a crystal, and the other is DNA. You can actually store information in DNA.
And what do those two have in common? Light. It's
Exactly.
light. It's light. And light cannot be made without vibration, which we would call sound, but it's unheard sound.
Right.
Okay, so that's what they said. Christ, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. They're not talking about God sitting there with this bearded man. Like, I'm sitting here with Micah right now,
Right.
and I'm God, and Micah's the Word. Like, they're not talking about that. They're talking about like a picture, source of all. It's all. It needs nothing, needs no blood sacrifices, asks nothing, don't need anything. It has all and is all. And if it emanates something, it's a vibration. So that means vibration comes before light. So sound produces light. So this is the concept of the evil ones, meaning they can't get rid of the eternals, because we are vibration, we are the Word, we are the Christ, because they are what you would call Lucifer, the light. But the light bearers, or Satan, or however you want to,
It's
whatever,
Lucy in the sky with diamonds.
basically. And the light can't exist without the vibration or the Word. So that's the real story of the Christ, not the dogmatic version of it.
So, guys, what I want you to know is that the Bible, all those stories are different ways of talking about the sun going through the 12 signs of the Zodiac. They're all different ways of telling the story. I'll give you Samson and Delilah as an example. I don't know if you guys can read Hebrew, but right here, this says Shimshon. That's the name of Samson in Hebrew. This is Delilah. The root of Delilah is Lila. So Shimshon means little sun. Whereas Delilah, the root is Lila, which is night. And what is the story of Samson and Delilah? He gets his hair cut. He goes blind. Delilah betrays him. It's the story of the night overtaking the day.
Well, to add to that, a lot of people don't know that there's a argument about what really is the oldest book in the Bible. Some people are saying that Judges and Samuel are actually older than Job, and that's the story. That's where the story of Samson is. So, like you said, Shimson. Well, in Egypt, about 2,000 years prior, was Shimsu Hor. That was the priesthood of Horus, or the light, the hero, the Heru. So it's the same story told over and over and
We
over.
were talking about Shamash, right? Before? Well, Shemesh, right here, during Hanukkah, you have a menorah. And the menorah is one candle on the front and then either 6 or 8 candles behind it, depending on which. Let's just say there's 8. You have the 8 in the back. The proper way to light the menorah, what is the story of the menorah? It's the story of the oil, the sacred oil that burned for 8 days when they only had enough for one. Now they're only now starting to realize that they have buried technology where you didn't even need oil to burn lights. Some of these chambers that they're finding had forever lights. But basically, what you do is you light the front one. That's the shamash. That's the sun. And then what you do is you take the front one and you light the rest of them with the shamash. And then you put it back. And that represents the sun. Jonah and the body of the whale. In Hebrew, the words are Dag Gadol, which translates to great giant fish, or Pisces. He's in it for 3 days. He's dead for 3 days. Remember, he's in the whale's throat. A whale's throat is only about the size. It can only open to the size of my fist. That's how big the whale's throat can open to. As much fish as it takes in, it's the size of your fist. So either he really was in there for 3 days, or it's the talking about the sun walking sideways like the crab for 3 days. In Cancer, Daniel and the lion's den. It's a story revolving around 2 signs in astrology. Daniel the man, Aquarius, and the lion, which are Leo the lion. And incidentally, in the Zodiac, they are opposing signs. If you follow my work, you'll know it's all opposing signs and connecting signs. It's just pattern, pattern, pattern. We did it last time. If somebody in the chat wants to put our last video so that everyone else can watch it after this, it's up to them.
Well, also, what I'll add to this, and I've shared this in the school previously, but for those who haven't heard this, Samson is also an anagram for Masons, which is Ma's sons. So Ma's sons, and that's also the Aramaic name for who many call Jesus. Jesus just means he's us. But Jesus didn't speak Hebrew; he spoke Aramaic. So his real name, they tell you, the first 2 angels, going back to Isaiah and the first angel that came to Mary, said, "His name shall be Emmanuel." Now in Aramaic, they tell you in Hebrew that means God with us, but in Aramaic it's Emmanuel, which means the exclamation of the mother, the exclamation of the mother goddess within time, or it's the seen and unseen, the countable and uncountable.
And when you're talking about Yeshua too, you guys have to understand is that the J didn't come into the language until 1524 AD. The J was the last letter to come into the alphabet. The letter Z came into the alphabet before the letter J. And then 10 years later, the Jesuits came around in 1534 and messed everything up. But that's a different story. Yeshua. When you want, in Hebrew, the name is Yonatan, that's Jonathan. Yaakov, that's Jacob. When you say Yeshua, if you translate it literally, it comes out to Joshua. It doesn't even come out to Jesus.
And that's who they actually thought was their Mashiach, who came with the sword. And they even tell you in the book of Revelation, that was originally the apocalypse of He So Which Rises To, aka the apocalypse of Jesus Christ, in Greek. they changed it to the book of revelation, meaning the truth is in there, but we're going to put another little veil on top. But people think revelation means, oh, they're revealing it. No,
Mhm.
they're revealing it. Unveilation is when they take the veil off. So they even tell you in there that the Christ is coming back with a rod of iron to rule the nations. Does that sound like the Christ to you? Does that sound anything like the Christ? Does Christ sound like he was sent by Yahweh? Does that sound like his daddy? Me and my father are one. Thou shalt not kill, but go kill everything breathing with 60
Right.
cities, babies, women, and children. But the virgins, and the word used for virgins meant girl between 6 and 13. Any girl between 6 and 13, take for yourself and make them your wives this day. Meaning, the wife, that meant have sex with them.
Well, yeah, you have to explain to people that when they say "and make them yours this day," that's not talking about having a marriage and then waiting for them to come to age.
That's consummating the marriage.
Correct.
Same thing Muhammad did. Muhammad was like 56 or 53 and had a
And Aisha was 9.
9. There it is.
So check this out, guys. Lot and Lot's wife in Sodom and Gomorrah. Incidentally, Sodom and Gomorrah was where we get the word sodomy from. In the ancient times, people were paid with salt. It's where the word salary comes from. S-A-L-T. Why? Because it preserved the meat. And when you killed a cow and didn't eat it in one day, it would go bad. Salt kept it viable for longer. There was no refrigeration back then. Salt was the highest currency aside from gold and silver. So when Lot's wife turned into a pile of salt, you have to think about it as if it was in that time frame. Think about it like you go to Las Vegas, gambling, debauchery, prostitution, all this, and then you get to McCarran Airport, and then you turn around one last time and you just turn into a pile of gold coins. That is what this story is trying to tell you. Salt is the highest power. Salt was the highest power back then. In fact, we were talking, let's bring it back here again. The Zodiac, this is the Stufetta de Bebiena. It's not really a good picture of it, but you can kind of see it right there where the words are. This is the papal bath. Now, you'll look at all the designs on there, okay? And what you'll realize is that they were painted over. And what you'll find under what they were painted over is Greek gods, signs of the Zodiac. In fact, some of the signs of the Zodiac are still there in the papal bath. There's a town in Israel called Megiddo, which a 3rd century church was found under a church. Basically, some dude was walking in this church and he put his foot and almost fell through the floor. So when they looked in there, they were like, oh my God, there's another church under it. So they dug the whole thing up. It's one of the oldest churches known to man. In the center of the floor, right here, is the mosaic Two Fish Pisces. We even know who commissioned this. This is a church from the 200s. And look at this. In the center, it's the Two Fish Pisces. Megiddo is also the root of the word Armageddon, which is where the war on earth and the rapture, it's either supposed to begin or end, I can't recall. But Megiddo is where we get Armageddon.
And I want to add to that right there. You guys must understand this. The scripture, they are actually enacting it out. It's when what you're witnessing right now, people are like, well, if it's not real, then how come everything is happening? Because the scripture, break the words down, are the chores of the script. So the characters are performing the chores, like Brother Micah said earlier about Psalms and the letter of Shake and Spear. So Shakespeare said everybody's a character on the stage of life, basically, and plays their role. So this is one of the rules that the elites live by. That's why you can see pictures of Eddie Murphy back in the 1600s, and people like Elon Musk and things. And people think, oh, that's just a coincidence. No, these people are stuck in time. Okay, they know they're stuck in a reincarnation cycle, or
time loop.
Either that, it's called soul scraping. It's what Queen Elizabeth, Bet means home or Saturn.
That means house in Hebrew. Yes, it does.
So the lizard, the E is El or energy, lizard bet, L, Saturn bet, it's all there. They do something called soul scraping, and they didn't announce her death until baby Lila bet. There's the Saturn again. Lila comes from, Lilith, and Lilith comes from the Sumerian Ninmah, which is actually Enki and Enlil's stepsister. It's
And
three of them.
for those people who are into a little bit more mysticism as far as the Bible goes, you'll come across a story that Adam's first wife was not Eve. Incidentally, you want to know something that's absolutely crazy, Chief? I just learned this recently. Let me know what you think about this. Because all right, so first, Eve was not Adam's first wife. She came from his rib, supposedly, right? It was Lilith. And the story behind Lilith was God made Lilith for Adam, but Lilith wouldn't submit to Adam. And when I say submit, specifically what I mean is that she wouldn't lay down in missionary position and just take him. So she got thrown out and she became the queen of demons and all this other stuff. But it's interesting too because, it's interesting. They said that God put Adam to sleep in order to make Eve, right? Tell me at what point in the Bible did God ever wake him up?
Yeah, and to go off that, I got a few points I'll add to that. Number one, Lilith in the Sumerian tablets, like I said, is Ninmah. Okay, so Enki, Enlil, and Ninmah are the three siblings of Anu, but they all have different mothers. Enlil is venerated, or Yahweh, because it comes from Anu's sister, which is how the elites interbreed. They keep it in the family. So Enlil is the only son that came from the direct royal lineage. It's almost like Enki and Ninmah are like the story of Ishmael from Hagar. So Ninmah, the story in the Sumerian text is Enki was trying to make clones, okay, and he couldn't get it right. So what happened was Ninmah or Lilith actually carried the seed of the humanoids, a humanoid here. Not it wasn't just one caveman race on Earth. There was many different types of beings. Okay, so let's get that fact clear. It wasn't just a, Homo erectus or something like that. It was all different types of, just like animals. So they picked one certain archetype creature or being. They couldn't get the cloning process right, according to the Sumerian text. And Lilith or Ninmah actually held the seed of one of these beings, and she actually had the first successful birth of this new race. And they demonized her because in the Sumerian text, that would make her the ruler of Earth with Anu's quote, what many would use the word blessing, but Anu's anointing basically, and it's called the 50th seat on the Anunnaki Council. Now we're getting down a whole nother rabbit hole, but and then going off what you said about Adam and Eve and not waking Adam up. Well, listen, look at it like this. Number one, it's scientifically impossible to make a X chromosome out of a Y. I mean, if you just look at the alphabet, they tell you that's revelation of method X, Y, Z. So they're trying to make Z right now, which is transhumanist, and Z is 1, 2, 3. It's just a different way. Okay, so that's the ribosomes. An X chromosome has 1, 2, 3, 4 ribs or ribosomes. You put a woman to sleep and take one, you have a Y. You took one of the 4, now you got 3, you got a Y, you have a man. So they reverse the story. So when Adam comes to, he says to Eve, okay, you're the mother of all living. Eve ain't, in the biblical story, she ain't even got up, stood up, talked, blinked, did nothing, but he gives her the sacred name, mother of all living. Why? Because it really was who he came from.
We can see that because the Y chromosome is disappearing.
He came from her. And so Adam,
That's the
is
whole story. That's the entire story about Wonder Woman, where she comes from. The whole story. Women, they self-replicate. They used to do that. You're only finding now that women have spermatozoa in their bone marrow. But back in the day, they
parthenogenesis.
used to control it, and obviously they would self-reproduce, but they didn't have the Y chromosome, so it would be all women. That's what they're telling you.
Well, that was before the moon. See, that's why they tell you. That's why Enlil or whoever Yahuwah Yahweh with Jehovah tells you what the original sin. Now you're gonna have birth pains and this and that and blood and menstrual menstruation, menopause. This is all the masculine energy now that has interfered with the balance. Okay. And I'm not talking about sacred mass, I'm talking about a distorted masculine energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Adam, the story of Adam is he named everything except himself. He knew what every animal was. He knew Eve was the mother of all living, but he didn't know who he was. So without knowledge of self, you have nothing. It don't matter. You can teach any paradigm, all the mystery school teachings. You can teach the pole shifts, this, that, the zodiac, the best astrologer. If you don't have knowledge of self,
The Egyptians knew this. Look at all the females. Look at all the statues where the female is holding the man. The Egyptians knew this. The Jews in the Old Testament wrote that everyone came from man, and that is where the problem begins. That is where that has to get reversed. You have to understand is that it's the women of creation. They're the portals that bring life into this dimension.
well, in Egypt, for a pharaoh to be crowned, two women had to place the crown on the pharaoh. It's the same with the chakras. The crown chakra is the feminine energy that goes on top and is times 1,000. Well, guess what? With the chakras and the crown, you have 144 chakras. People don't know that. You just have 7 main seals or wheels, energy points, but you have 144 nodes, little baby chakras throughout
Right.
your
Some have two petals. Some have. Absolutely.
Exactly. So the crown is times 1,000, and it's the feminine energy. 9 Phi iron men. That's the blood, the red blood. Abo original. That's the Phi men 9. 9 is completion. So when you get that feminine crown placed on your head from the Great Mother, that's the narrow path. That's your portal back into eternity. Now, look, it's times 1,000. So that's 144,000. Well, guess what? In science, the X chromosome holds 1,000 genes that you need to be here. The Y chromosome used to hold 90. Now, today, it only holds 40 to 50 at most, to those that are coming in as men right now. The Y chromosome only holds 40 to 50 essential genes. The X chromosome is steady at 1,000 exactly. So the 1,000, the crown that is times X is the times 1,000X is the 1,000X chromosome. Boom! On top of you, you got restored with your 144,000 light code.
Mm-hmm. Guys, they started encoding all this kind of stuff in art. So right here, you're looking at God giving Adam life, right? Well, check this out. If you look at what okay, I can't really shade it. If you look at what I'm highlighting right here, if you look at this, doesn't this kind of sort of look like a human brain? The opening of a human brain? Look at where God is sitting, right here, where his energy is. He's sitting on the pineal gland. Now, anatomically, these would be the 12 cranial nerves. But this is God in heaven with the 12 zodiac signs, count them, there's 12 of them, coming through the pineal gland, giving Adam life. You see the way that God is giving Adam life, but Adam is just limp wristing it because he doesn't really know what he's about to receive?
Well, look, that also looks like a fetus, and they call it a fetus. Well, why do they keep the fetus? And listen to the word fetus. Feed us. Okay, and what do they do when you're first birthed through the canal? They take the sole of your foot and put it on 2D paper. So they got your sole imprint, like a fingerprint, but it's your sole of your foot. They put it on paper and they keep the fetus, which they consider the living birth, and they open up the dead corpse or the corporation in all caps, which is corporate legal fiction. And now you're a citizen on a UCC, Admiralty Maritime Law ship that has liberty to come on land, but you under the law of the merchants on the sea.
Mm-hmm. So you guys, let me see if I can zoom in on this. That's better. Okay. So this is the 12 disciples. They're broken down into sections of 3. This is spring. This is summer. This is fall. And this is winter. If you look at it, the year starts in Aries. It's green over here because that's when all the snow melts. And the green, the lush, the springtime brings the plants and the fruit and everything back to life. This is Taurus. Then you have Gemini right here, the twins, showing you his 2 hands, showing you there's twins. Then you have Cancer right over here. And then you have Leo right over here. But what is Cancer pointing to? I'm sorry, what is Leo pointing to? Look at this. He's pointing to her throat. This is Virgo right here. He's pointing to her Adam's apple to show she doesn't have one. Libra, the scales of justice that hang like this. That's this dude right here.
And look at the Cancer. The crab moves sideways. Cancer's the only one that's all the way to the side.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is what they're showing you. I'm telling you, Da Vinci, Michelangelo, they all knew this stuff. This one is actually kind of funny. Let me zoom back out. Okay. Mother Mary is... Do you see what you're looking at here, guys? Mother Mary is Virgo, the Virgin, the holy vagina that was worshipped. In fact, I actually posted this picture on Facebook a few months back and got banned from going live or joining groups because their bot flagged this as a vagina and said I posted porn.
LeBron James has that tatted on, a real big tattoo of that on him.
That's what Mary and a half shell is showing you guys. It's showing you the feminine. It's showing you the chalice. The portal where life comes from. Where life originated originally from. So check this out. The star in the sky here is always Polaris. You see the sheep, that's Aries right here. The bull, right here, that's Taurus. Those are connecting signs. The camel, that's Camelopardalis, which is in Gemini. That connects to Taurus. That's 3 signs in a row. The donkey right here, that's Acellus Borealis, which is in Cancer. That's 4 signs in a row. The manger right here was the name that they used to give what is now known as the beehive cluster. You see the alchemical clothing that they were basically wearing. The man is Aquarius. There's also a horse. Where's the horse? Right there. That's Sagittarius. Sagittarius opposes the sign of the donkey in Cancer. There's 7 zodiac signs just in this one picture, and look at what you're doing. By the way, the 3 wise men are carrying frankincense and myrrh. Frankincense and myrrh are olive plants, which are harvested in Libra. So it's actually 8 signs. So if I were to undo this, just so that you can look at this picture, there's 8 signs of the zodiac in this one picture.
Well, you know it is said, and I'm gonna get into that on part 2 because we're going through almost 3 hours strong right now. So
yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be able to finish my presentation. We're gonna have to do a part 3 after my wedding.
Yeah, for sure. But I will add the Gnostic text that is older than the canonized biblical text that you're given. It says that Satan only has 7 ages to basically rule. And the ancients, the ancestors used to say you only had 1 incarnation per age. And it was you basically you had 7 incarnations. So it wasn't just like 12 ages, it was 7 ages. So, and you said there's 8 right there. So 8 being, the symbol as above, so below. And a lot of people don't know above, below, below, above. That's Abba. Okay, that they get the Abba, and a lot. I think I mentioned it in a last teaching that Abba was actually referred to a feminine deity before it was known as the Father. It was ABA. It was actually a term for the mother.
Well, that's Abel. Abba El.
Abba, El, and Ka, Ya'in. So you have El and Ya. That's the duality in the masculine energy. So that's Ya and El both, or Ya, Ya, El, both. Ya, El, both. It's Ya and El both. They're one. They're one deity. But it's splitting itself, acting like it's two. It's the red blue. Joaquin Boaz, Cain Abel. It's Democrat, or Republican, the vampires and the werewolves. It's pick one. Pick the lesser of the two evils. What was it? You remember when Clinton was running? Everybody was like, "Man, who?" It doesn't matter, man. About like with the Harris thing. Do you think it's a coincidence that they know that the feminine energy is like on the rise? That they're gonna they tested it out with Clinton, Hillary a couple of years back, and they said, "Oh, it's too early." That's what a poll is. When they say the polls are in, at the ballots, that's not a vote. A vote is not cast on a ballot or a poll. A poll is a survey. They're surveying to see. The poll is to see which polarity you're going for. Are you going for the feminine deity, Hillary, Kamala, the chameleon, or are you going for Trump, Biden? Which polarity are you going to choose? You got to have the single eye. Not
Chief, I
vision.
think we absolutely destroyed it today. We got through all our talking points, and I have about maybe 3/5 to half left, so we can definitely do this another time.
Brother, to be honest with you, I probably I might have looked down at a couple of things, maybe 3 or 4 times during this. The rest was just off the top. So I know you got your wedding. What I may do, because some people get offended when you come on, and you're talking, I might say, "Hey, brother, look." That's because I'm excited. I'm excited to have someone here and I'm excited to have everyone here. I'm sure we could bring up a lot of these eternal souls that could teach us. We're not above anyone. Okay, so let me make that clear. But I get excited, so I don't. The last time there was comments like, "Chief, you need to stop interrupting."
No. Listen, don't do that. Don't do that. Jump in when you have something.
It's a build. We're building. That's like me sitting back and he's a contractor and I'm doing work on the same job site, and I'm like, well, he got a contractor, then I might as well let him lay all the concrete. I'm gonna sit back and just wait for it to set. No, we're building together. That's what it is. So, but with the current situation, and I was gonna try to make it down there, but
I know. I invited you, but brother, you had so much going on yourself.
yeah,
It's okay.
we an announcement to you and everyone here. It's I don't want to say 100%, but it's like over 90. It's pretty much the deal. It's pretty much sealed. I have acquired 5 acres of land, and we are going. It's the beginning of going off grid. So I just want to announce that to everyone. That don't mean we're at the finish line, and unfortunately, we still got to utilize that monopoly, uh, Mooney. You know what I mean? So, like I told you before, anytime you send anything over here, it's going to that off-grid community, and it's pretty much the deal is sealed. I'm not going to unveil the location yet, but it's right where it's supposed to be. And brother, that's the only reason I didn't make it down to the wedding, because I've been
Don't worry
dealing
about it, man.
with that,
It's all
brother.
good. It's all good. The invite was there.
And I greatly appreciate it. I greatly appreciate you coming on tonight. So what I may do is, just so you know, I may come on and just do like a part two, just and just add a whole bunch of stuff that that I had on the side, and that way when you come on, we can, you can have the floor again, and I'll just kind of piggyback off of you, and we'll start where we left off right here.
Mm-hmm.
So we, you know what I
So,
mean?
guys, if you want to follow me, because it's not letting me put in the chat room, my website is debunkmywork.com. All my social media is there. All my debunked videos are there. There's a way to email me at the bottom of it. Pretty
You can
much my
share your cash app and anything too, brother. You
book
can do
series
that.
is there. I explain what's in the book series, guys. It's all this kind of stuff. Find me on social media if you're interested in the book series and a way to support me. Just reach out to me on social media or email me. That's on the bottom of the webpage, debunkmywork.com. And I sell my digital, and I had audiobooks made too, because a lot of people can just listen on the run. If you want digital or audio, just reach out to me. And Rick just posted the correct link for the first podcast. So
Rick is awesome, man. I haven't even met this brother in person, and he's just like source sent, man. Great spirit sent. And when I first kind of, because I've only been teaching on YouTube since October. And when I realized I needed some moderators, and I just handed out some badges, didn't even know who was who. And brother Rick, man, he and Prairie Goat Mama, she does I think everybody pretty much, but that's the main two I see here on a consistent basis. Rick says stop. He's blushing over there. But yeah, I appreciate not only the moderators, everyone here, and brother Micah. I love you, man. Is there anything else that I didn't mean to interrupt?
no, not at all. So do you? I'm glad we listen, guys. We addressed the the Zodiac not being born before 700 BC, and it's done. That won't be brought up again. We're gonna move forward, and we're gonna make another one. Damn, dude, we did 3 hours.
What I will say is, like I just said, I am gonna do like kind of like a solo build of this, where I'm just gonna remember in the beginning I told you how you had mentioned like we can easily show that it goes back to Sumerian
Yeah,
time. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring some knowledge that has been passed on to me through my heritage, me being a chief on the land, and having certain oral knowledge passed on, and I'm gonna unveil some of that through like earthwork, like the Serpent Mound, and a couple other different earthworks here on Turtle Island, aka America, and I'm gonna show how the Zodiac also existed over here, at least for 13,000 years.
perfect.
So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna add one more layer, and then, like you say, we'll go ahead and put it to sleep.
Awesome. Well, brother, thank you for having me on.
There's only one thing left to do. Let's get married.
Yes.
Congratulations, brother.
Thank you, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Me set, brother. All right, y'all. Well, that concludes the presentation. She been pulling her hair down and chilling on it. Look. It's so long. Look how long that is. You think it's just the little puff balls, but shabang, she be chilling on it. And then this one strand just hanging out. And I said, "Was you chewing on your hair?" She goes, "No." Yes, you was. Let me chew.
Then can go buy.
Can I go buy something to eat? Are you my salesperson? Are you telling them you're hungry and maybe drop the Cash App and the PayPal? No, I'm just playing with y'all.
Dad, you can get something.
Snack.
No, give me something for eat.
Something to eat?
Dad, Dad.
Thought you had Chipotle. Okay, guys, I love y'all. Like I said, calm down. I am gonna do a follow up on this because there's so much that I didn't even pretty much I gave the floor to Micah, as I should, and because the last time he came on, the last occasion he came on, it was a learning experience for us. First time I ever hosted anyone, and you heard it from his mouth, and I would want someone to build. I wouldn't want to come on someone's platform and I'm the only one talking. Like I mentioned earlier in the beginning, Brother London that was in here under the name, KJV. I'm on his stream. I don't want to say constantly, but I go over there and he, in a way, kind of interviews me and we have builds and it's pretty cool. So you can check him out as well. He was in the beginning of I don't know if he's still here. Brother London's still here. If not, it was under the name KJV in the comments earlier. But he's in London, so he might have laid it down. But I appreciate y'all. I genuinely love y'all. And this was fire, Brother Maurice. It was fire. And we kind of did veer a little off topic, but I was going to say in the beginning, you know how I do. It's all about the great spirit with I. Like, sometimes I got to change titles of streams and everything. It goes where it's meant to go. But I do have probably a whole nother at least 2.5 hour presentation that has more to do with Turtle Island, what we call America, and still adding a couple little tidbits of the Babylon and the Egyptian and stuff, and showing you how the Zodiac is literally thousands of, it's like it predates the real deluge, not somebody telling you that the flood was in 2000 BC. If that was the flood they're calling the Great Flood, then they're not talking about a worldwide flood. That's incorrect. Okay, I'm just gonna leave you with this little nugget, and then I'll pick up on the next one. There would be no calendar without the Zodiac. The entire calendar and timekeeping system is made off the Zodiac. So anyone to have some kind of teaching or paradigm that's based on dates, they don't even know that it's coming from the Zodiac. I'm just going to leave it at that. So I love you guys. Eternal gratitude for being here with Micah and I in this moment. You could have been anywhere. You could have been doing anything, but you were here. You graced us with your presence, which is a gift to I as well. So, as always and always, Mësët.
Daddy.